I am. If you need to talk.
Sorry, Sharon, good? We are good. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the Council Budget Committee meeting to order, please. Everybody's had a chance to review the minutes. I get a motion to adopt. Thank you, Alderman Burley's motion to adopt. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Agenda reports. 3.1. I'd like to introduce Mr. Chris Reason, and he's brought some guests with him, and you're going to be talking about emergency backup generator, please. Whenever you're ready, Chris.
Good evening, members.
Sorry, if we could dim the lights, please.
Good evening, members of Council, or Council Budget Committee, I guess it is. You're being provided with information on a scope change for the Genesis Place backup generator pre-wire project during an emergency event needing a generator. Additional information was requested on the December 21st Council Budget Committee meeting, so I'm here. The Emergency Advisory Committee endorsed Genesis Place to be pre-wired for an emergency backup generator, and specific spaces in Phase 1 and Phase 2 were identified as being a required space for power generation. The project is scheduled to be completed at the end of the first quarter in 2016 here. The total approved budget for that project was $204,200, and the potential savings at the end of the project for the generator, the pre-wire portion is estimated at $103,000. Currently, the only facilities pre-wired to accept a generator are Genesis Place and the Town and Country. The two facilities are designated as reception centers in the Municipal Emergency Management Plan. All other facilities requiring a generator for business continuity purposes have a generator already installed, with the exception of the 2 Highland Park RCMP facility, which is budgeted in the 2016 capital budget. The City of Airdrie does not have a generator in its fleet to power either Genesis Place or the Town and Country. The electrical design of Genesis Place requires a 500 kilowatt, 600 volt, 3-phase, 4-wire generator. The electrical design for the Town and Country requires a 120 208 volt generator. A used generator capable of filling the requirements of Genesis Place ranges from $50,000 to $90,000. A dual voltage generator large enough to accommodate both Genesis Place and the Town and Country ranges from, is approximately $360,000. So that would be new, and it would be a 1 megawatt generator, which is substantially higher than our 500 kilowatt need. A used dual voltage generator with older technology does not have sufficient kilowatt or range and voltage to accommodate both facilities. To maximize the flexibility of supplying emergency power to both the Town and Country and Genesis Place, the potential for purchasing a transformer on a skid, which would give the voltage range required to power both those facilities at an approximate cost of $15,000. So I've included some photos this time to give you an example of what this generator actually looks like. So this is the C-can on a 30-foot trailer. So it's a 20-foot C-can, so you can see there's ventilation on the side, and it's literally a 30-foot trailer. So we can just go to the next photo. So again, it's another photo of what the generator would look like. And it has an adapter, so it would be able to be pulled with a truck suitable and something that we have in our fleet. I'll go to the next one. So it's all the ventilation for the generator. next one, and so this last photo, I believe, is a picture of the transformer on a skid. So literally, it would be picked up with, I guess, a forklift, and it would be hoisted onto a 3-ton or something of that nature, or even probably a 1-ton.
Yeah, or you could mount it on a trailer.
A trailer as well. Okay. So possibilities for diversity is there now. So the alternatives and implications, so if we maintain status quo, we will not be able to provide power at Genesis Place. Currently, there's no generators in the fleet, so that's alternative number 1. Number 2 is to create a partnership with an external vendor. So it may not be feasible all the time to have a generator necessarily in a timely manner. And number 3, to contract an external vendor. So the approximate cost of that would be $45,000 a year plus the in-service costs. An alternative number 4 would be to purchase a used generator on a trailer with a transformer to convert the voltage. So this would be low capital cost, and it would mitigate not being able to provide a safe place of refuge. The recommendation is that Council Budget Committee supports the change in scope to purchase a used generator on a trailer and a transformer to convert voltage, with the funding coming from the savings of the Genesis Place pre-wire project.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Sorry, lights on. Did you want to make a comment?
Sorry, just sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, no. So just to give a little background, this is Gord. He's our expert not witness. he's our technical support expert. So if there's any further questions on the generator itself, Gord can certainly field any questions.
I'm glad that we've never had an expert witness here before. So thanks for being here, Gord. Lauren, just a dumb question for you in Public Works. Do you guys rent generators throughout the year? And if so, could you use it while it wasn't in use, or? Not everybody can see your expression from here, so I think you need to come up and elaborate on that.
Your Worship and members of Council, just in response to the question, we do already have backup power at 15 East Lake Hill. We do not have anything set up at 23 East Lake Hill, so that could be something we could investigate to see if there's connectivity and usage.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering on the mobile site, when you've got stuff going down, if you ever need a generator on site when you're off site. Yeah,
my understanding is the size of the generator being contemplated here is probably too large to be used in our normal operations.
Perfect. Thank you very much, sir. Councillor Hunter, please.
Just a quick question. So I'm assuming that's a step-down transformer that I saw. So it's coming in at 600. That's going to step it down to 122.08.
Yeah, that's correct.
Perfect. So I like that. That's great. That's what I was looking for the first time out, and so now we can multi-purpose it. That's a good spend, so I'll support that for sure.
Excellent. Councillor Chapman, please.
Well, my question is that transformer, that would only be used at the Town and Country Centre, correct? We wouldn't need that at Genesis Place.
Through the chair, no, we would not need it at Genesis Place. Any other facility, however, we would require it.
Which other facilities would we have that are wired for backup power?
Well,
right
Town
now?
and Country currently,
yeah.
And if you choose to direct us, I guess 23 East Lake Hill.
So, with that being said, if the power is out that bad, why would we use why would we use Town and Country, and not Genesis Place for a gathering place, for any other word?
Through the chair, that would be dependent upon where, like if we couldn't use Genesis Place, so the nature of the disaster or the large scale event prevented us, so hazmat or something like that, where Genesis Place was taken out of the picture and we couldn't use that facility, Town and Country's our secondary choice. Or if it's the size or something like that, typically we're going to use Genesis Place though.
Okay, so with that being said, then we wouldn't have to move that transformer around on a skid. We could leave that over at the TNC behind there, because it's going to be stored outdoors anyways. What would the difference be if it was stored behind TNC? We wouldn't have to worry about moving it. Just
yeah, I guess if it's a weather incident, it's taking it across the highway. If it's on the east side, and typically we're going to use Genesis Place, that might be.
No, I'm just talking about the transformer. We don't need
Oh,
the
sorry, the transformer, absolutely,
The
yeah.
transformer could just stay at
Yeah.
the TNC. Thank you.
Excellent. Councillor Coulson, please.
So just before my question, going on storing it behind the TNC, that would be an unsecured spot, so could anybody pick it up on that skid and move it?
Through the chair, yes, in effect, it would be. I guess we could always investigate putting a fence around it or doing something of that nature.
Okay.
If need be, or we can bolt it down or
Okay.
bolt it down.
Okay, and then my next question through the chair would be, so there was an event at the high school last week where their transformer blew. So would something like that be able to be borrowed from some facilities that may need it when
they
an
were
event like that
pre-wired.
happens?
Yeah, it all dictates on what their load is, what size of transformer they need. And if it matches that side, there would be no problem using
Okay.
it there.
Thank you. Is the city open to something like that? If Rocky View Schools had an issue where their entire school was shut down and we could help in the interim?
I don't-
Hmm? Yeah.
Through the chair, not sure on that one. Maybe Paul might want to.
Go ahead, Mr. Schultz.
Through your worship, just a couple of overall comments, if I could. I just want to draw your attention back. I mean, the main consideration here is that we do have the capability to have a generator that can service both of our reception centers. I would propose you just leave the operational where it's located to staff, and we'll figure out the optimal there. As to sharing with the school division, if certainly the request was made and it was compatible, I would not see why we wouldn't do that.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? Chris, Laurie, or the expert? Nope, okay. Alderman Haig, please.
Thank you, Worship.
Councillor Haig. Okay.
Thank you, Worship. Then I would move that we support the purchase of the generator.
Excellent. All those in favor?
Your worship,
Yes, sorry.
if I could make just a friendly amendment to that,
Okay, Councillor Chapman.
that the cost of the generator and transformer does not exceed $90,000.
Chris, do you want to comment?
Without coming back to council, if they can't find a reasonable alternative.
Mr. Schultz?
Through your worship, I'm not, so I guess a question where the 90,000 comes from. I think we were proposing to be within the savings of the original budget, which I believe was $103,400, which we would plan on not exceeding. So if you're proposing something more limited with both the generator and the
I'm fine with
converter.
I just picked a number. I'm fine with not exceeding 103,000
Okay, thank you.
with our surplus we have,
Thank you.
including the transformer,
Including the
$15,000
adapter.
transformer. Yeah.
So, sorry, ladies, did you capture that? Sharon? 103,000, I believe, is what Councillor Chapman said. And Alderman Haig was comfortable with the friendly amendment. So as long as it's budgeted. Sharon, okay? Perfect, thank you. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it very much. We are calling this meeting to adjournment. Will be 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, before we start the council meeting. I apologize. We're running a little late today. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the Airdrie City Council meeting to order for January the 18th, 2016. I do apologize for the delay. For those of you new to Chambers, our bathrooms are just located on the other side of this wall. And in case of any emergency fire alarm, just obviously you have doors over here and exit doors over to the other side on the same side as the wall where the bathrooms are. We want to start out, first of all, we've lost a number of community members. Out of respect for, I can't tell you how many funerals I attended over the last week or so. I won't mention names, but I'd like to show some respect and have a moment of silence in their memory, please. Thank you. First up on the agenda, we have item number 4, minutes. Deputy Mayor Bellick, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll get the ball rolling by making the motion to adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of December 21st, 2015.
Yes, Councillor Haig.
Thank you, Your Worship. If I can make an amendment, it states in those minutes that I was both present and absent, and I would just like the record to show I sent my regrets for that evening.
Yes, and there was a motion to that effect as well. So, did we capture that, Sharon? Thank you so much. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Item 4.2, Councillor Hunter, please.
I'd like to acknowledge the Municipal Library Board minutes of October 27, 2015.
Excellent. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. And we have the consent agenda. Item 5, is there any items on there that council wishes to ask a question of staff? They are here. So, yes, Deputy Mayor Bellick.
I'd like to address 5.2 and 5.3, if I may, sir.
Okay, so 5.2, 5.3. We will move that to just above appointments and presentations. And I will ask Councillor Chapman for resolution, please.
Your Worship, if that being the case, if we could accept for info 5.1 on the consent agenda. And move 5.2, 5.3.
Thank you, sir. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. So 5.2, I don't know who, Pauline. If Pauline's here, please come forward. And whenever you're ready, Deputy Mayor Bellick.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a comment. I have comments rather than a question for the people who came up. And it's nice to see the little report that we got with the Alberta and Canadian stats. I've done a little research on my own, and some of the stats I found was 1 out of 4 children are bullied, and 1 out of 5 students admit to being bullied or do some sort of bullying. So those are the stats I found. And I know secondhand in Airdrie here that a teacher in our public school board, she actually encouraged other students to be a bully to one student. And to me, that's unacceptable. Frankly, I'm a little frustrated at how Airdrie's not met the commitment that we all proposed when we passed the bylaw September-ish of 2013. I've heard time and time again how bullying has consumed people's lives, and the apathy or the frustration of the RCMP to not look at this problem. And I feel that we as a community have not given the tools that the RCMP need, or for that fact municipal enforcement, to be able to deal with these situations. It's great to say on the record book that yes, we have a public behavioral bylaw which addresses bullying, but if no one knows how to use it, well, what's the value of it, right? So I have great respect for the two communities that we actually gave the bullying initiative money to, but I think there's a little more that we can do. I realize that Myself, I can only contribute to the cause up to a certain point because I'm a counselor, and I understand that. I think it's past due that we stop scratching the surface of bullying and actually get down and dirty with some of this bullying that's actually happening. And there are world-class organizations out there that specifically deal with bullying. And I'm wondering why we aren't asking some of those organizations to help us out with this situation in Airdrie. I know Mayor Brown and a couple other colleagues know the name Winston Blake. And for me, when I was listening to Winston, and he's with PMAS, he has it right on what we have to deal with in Airdrie here. And I was watching 6x9 over the weekend, and they were talking about professional amnesia, pardon me. And the definition of that is just people sitting around talking about what they're going to do about a specific situation. You know, I'm all for research, but we can do research and research over the years, over the decades, and we have to realize that every day, every school day, there are hundreds of kids that don't want to go to school, or adults that don't want to go to work because they're being bullied. And to me, that's unacceptable.
So I'm not going to, that was a fairly complicated statement. So is there something that you'd like to see that we're not doing now, maybe a motion of council to look into more detail? I think you cover a lot of topics in your conversation, Deputy Mayor. So I don't know, Pauline, if you're prepared to respond to any of it. Clay, there was a lot covered there. I wouldn't expect, okay, fair enough. What would you like to see? So you mentioned a fair amount there. I think, so if you mentioned the school system, I think it would be really important for you if you're available to attend a Rocky View School Division, Calgary Catholic trustee meeting, Francophone, and deliver that message and see what they're doing, because this is a collaborative approach, and I think we need to get in touch with the organizations that are really responsible for a lot of the things that you mentioned. But I think it'd be good for you to get out there and visit and share your ideas and thoughts.
And through the chair,
yep.
A couple of years I've done that. I've gone to the superintendent of the Rocky View School District, and he was hesitant at some of my ideas. And he presented his page and a half of what the school board is actually doing about bullying, and that was unacceptable as well.
In fairness to the superintendent, city manager, and all of those in administration, it's up to the trustees to make, they dictate policy. They're the ones that tell them how to do things. I would argue that you should really talk to them directly.
Correct.
And your last comment, sorry, you were on, are you going to comment on 5.2? Sorry, Councillor Hunter? Or are we moved on to 5.3?
No, I would like to make an ask of staff based on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're still on, are you finished with yours, Deputy Mayor? Okay, thank you. Councillor Hunter, whenever you're ready.
So I would like to make an ask of, in particular, the seniors bullying place piece of it. It says literature suggests that there is a need to conduct further studies in order to fully understand the impact of various elder abuse service delivery program models. At the very least, I would like to hear from staff what is currently available at the seniors' homes in Airdrie, and we have a number of them. So if we could come back with, so what are they doing? What are they not doing? Can we support them? Is there something that we can do for seniors?
Thank you, Your Worship. So through the chair, I guess I just want to know.
Sorry, Councillor. I was nodding at you that I'm coming to you next, but Pauline's going to respond to the question first. Thank you.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of Council. I appreciate that question, and I can go back and identify some of those strategies and support programs.
Councillor Coulson.
I guess I just want to make sure that we're not opening up to a completely different mandate. As far as stepping into seniors' homes, there's many programs and operations in place. There's protections for persons in care, those kinds of things. So it's great to connect those dots through the city, but to have our staff go above and beyond what their mandate is, I guess I would ask the city manager through the chair where we sit with that.
So I'll take a stab at it quickly. The connectivity is through community links and other community partners through FCSS funding. So to me, they're already there anyway, and providing that information. I know Pauline and Clay are both experts in that realm. Sorry, Mr. Schultz, but I'm assuming that that's part of what you're already doing right now. Okay, is that fair enough, Councillor Coulson? Perfect. Okay. 5.3 to you.
If I may, Your Worship?
Yes, you may, Sharon.
If I may just ask if that was a formal resolution from Councillor Hunter, and if it was, if that could please be voted on.
I didn't hear it as a resolution. I heard it as he was positive with the response to the question. Can you clarify?
Yeah, and I do believe that outside of a resolution, I believe that there are some things done. I think it's just a matter of coming back with an FYI to us as to what those things may be in concert with community links and that kind of thing. So I guess if it's better captured with a resolution, I can certainly do that.
If you wish it to come back by report to City Council, then yes, I'd ask that it be done by resolution, please.
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor of the resolution? All those opposed? None. Motion's carried. Thank you. All right. Deputy Mayor Bellick. We're on 5.3 on the therapeutic council, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, I've read this over a couple of times, and I'm not seeing where it's addressing the actual question that we had back in a couple of months ago. I believe that the question was, there is a pot of money that's over and above the awarded intervention program, and with that pot of money, how do we access it without going through the courts first?
Sharon, whenever you're ready.
Your Worship, members of Council, perhaps the report wasn't clear with respect to that, but in 2016 there is no additional pot of money. There was $1,000 budgeted for therapeutic counselling, and it was based on historical use of the program. So at this point, there is no pot of money that could be drawn from to fund a program other than what is currently set aside for 2016, and all that's set aside for the 2016 is $1,000.
That clarifies it. Pardon me. That clarifies it for me. I just, there's within the bylaw. I've been reading it once and twice, and my opinion is it could be worded better. It could be worded so we have the tools, like I was talking about with the previous 5.2, that would help municipal enforcement, RCMP, deal with these things without going through the courts. I realize I've sent Mark Locking an email last week addressing things of, well, if you do have a bylaw ticket, is there any way to get around? How would they appeal for it? And Mark was very gracious in answering that if they didn't pay for it, then they'd have to go to court anyway. So there's got to be another way we can deal with this without having going through the courts. Just my feelings.
Okay, so Deputy Mayor, point taken. I believe Mark Gord was coming back with an update in the spring, correct? With his next quarterly update? Next meeting. Yes, next meeting. So we'll be able to discuss all of that and more when he's here. Are you okay for that? Yep. Sharon, thank you very much. Yes, we are going to do that. That's going to be Councillor Chapman's going to make that resolution to accept that for information.
Your Worship, if I will make that recommendation, we accept this for information.
Thank you so much. All those in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you very much. We're on to appointments and presentations. And if I get a show of hands, how many are here for the Pitbull conversation? So lots of you. So just before we get into appointments and presentations, I just want to clarify something with everyone. I get letters, or council gets letters probably every day. And some of them we can be dealt with directly through administration, so we'll pass it on if it's an engineering question or whatever. This is a specific request of council. So there is no debate about anything this evening. There's two things that will happen. One is the correspondence will be filed. Two is that council could request more information as it relates to that topic. There is no debate this evening. I just want to make sure you guys know that, because it's happening toward the end. And if you have public question period, it is public question period. It's not public statement period. So if you are going to come up and talk about it, you got to make sure to be specific, just because there is a lot of you in the room. But at the end of the day, Those are the two options. There is no debate this evening, just to make clear. So appointments and presentations, I'll ask for Councillor Colson to make introductions, please.
Would you like me to introduce myself to you, Your Worship?
Yes,
Okay.
Councillor Colson.
So we have big brothers and sisters coming up to speak to us about their Bowl for Kids.
So, Your Worship, members of council, thank you for having us. We're here this evening to talk about the Bowl for Kids event that is coming up here shortly in February, as well as...
I'm sorry, we know you, but could you make introductions?
So we're going to get to that. I'm just wondering,
Okay.
How do we move the slides?
Sharon will help you with that.
Thank you. Marvelous, Cheryl, thank you. Great. Perfect. So I'm Jody McKay. I'm the manager of service delivery with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Calgary and area. And I have with me my brand new esteemed colleague, Carolee Goodhoose, who I'll be handing over part of the presentation to. Carolee is our new regional manager who has recently just joined us through a Family and Community Safety Program grant, which is a pilot grant to actually focus on our regional offices to actually expand infrastructure so we can start to grow our capacity and serve more young people. That also includes the city of Airdrie, which we're quite excited about. So Carolee is here, and one of her first actions is to actually really run with the Bowl for Kids event right here in Airdrie. So we'll be excited to tell you about that. What we'd also like to do, though, is thank the City of Airdrie as well as your FCSS Advisory Council for the ongoing sustainability through the FCSS funding. Big Brothers Big Sisters in Airdrie has been receiving funding through FCSS and the City of Airdrie since 2008. Through that sustainable funding, we've been able to serve, just in the last 5 years alone, over 450 matches. So those are little people, youth in junior high school who've been matched with a caring adult or teen. So that doesn't even include those that are going through the process. But 450 have had the benefit of having a caring adult or teen in their lives. So that's huge over the last 5 years. Currently, we have about 34 young girls and boys waiting for a mentor or a big brother or big sister right here in Airdrie alone. Just a little bit of background to know where your dollars impact. We were very lucky with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Canada, worked with Boston Consulting Group in 2013, and they did a longitudinal study. They looked at littles, who were the mentees who had been matched for 20 years or longer. They went back to them now that they're grown, and they wanted to quantify, what does it mean when you invest in mentoring, what does your dollar get back? And I won't get into detail. I know Clay has more of this information, and Kathy as well. But what they found, and actually the lead on the Boston Consulting Group, they did this pro bono. He was actually a little brother, and he's now in his 50s. They found that for every dollar you invest in a mentoring program, you're getting a social return on your investment of $18. And actually that goes up to $23 when they looked at the higher risk socioeconomical littles. Your investment would actually see a return of $23. So that's a little bit of our long-standing research. And I honestly didn't plan this around your discussion around bullying. DeWitt was another study we've had in the last 3 years. They partnered with, it was funded through the Canadian Mental Health Association. We know that those boys who have had a big brother are less likely than boys without a mentor to suffer peer pressure, that inflated anxiety, and they actually think better about themselves. Girls who actually, in the study, who had big sisters were 4 times less likely to bully, fight, lie, or express anger compared to those that didn't have a mentor. Again, going back to boys who were mentored were 2 times more likely to believe that school was fun. And from there, they actually then saw that academics were important, and we know that leads to more positive youth outcomes down the road as well. And again, mentored boys in the study definitively showed that they are 2 times less likely than non-mentored boys to develop negative conducts, such as bullying type behaviors, fighting, lying, that aggressive anger. So we just wanted to share with you a little bit about the impact that mentoring and the investment you're making through council and your FCSS dollars. We know you have lots of choices. And these are the impacts you're making here in Airdrie. I'm going to pass it over to Carolee, and she's going to bring that home to a story right here in Airdrie.
Thank you, Your Worship and council members. As Jody mentioned, I'm fairly new on the job. In fact, it's day 9. So one of the things that I found most meaningful to me as I started my new job was the success stories that happened throughout the programs, and that really demonstrated to me what the impact of our work was. So I have Jason and Jim from Airdrie to tell you about. So Jason and Jim have been matched for 4 years, and they have a really special bond between them. Jason came to Big Brothers and Big Sisters because he needed a positive role model in his life. In fact, his dad was not a part of his life at all, so that wasn't existing in his home. These two were matched for their love of sports, particularly hockey. And in addition to hanging out at sports events and stuff, they also talk a lot at Tim Hortons. So most recently, Jim, the big brother, reported that Jason has grown into a well-rounded teenager over the past 4 years, and they are now have the type of relationship that they can talk about girls and what Jason plans to do with his life once he graduates. Jim even helped Jason get his license recently, and Jim is secretly learning how to play the guitar. And this is because Jason plays the guitar and Jim wants to surprise them so that they can play together. Jason's mom reported to us that she believes that Jason's good manners, the healthy relationships that he's built, and his ability to defy peer pressure are a direct result of the influence that Jim has had on him. She also believes that Jim will be at Jason's graduation, wedding, and many more milestones, as she believes that their friendship will last a lifetime.
I know we changed the names in this just for confidentiality, but this little, I'll just extend, wants to be a sportscaster potentially. It came out in an interview on Fan 960. And then here with Airdrie, and his dream came true at our All-Star Weekend, our big gala event, which funds all of our programs. And he got to work up on stage and interview Henry Burris and Cheryl Bernard.
So now, how can everyone here help by volunteering and fundraising so we can make more of those successful matches happen? So coming up on Sunday, February 7th, we have Super Sunday with Bowl for Kids' Sake in Airdrie. We know that that's Super Bowl weekend, so we're asking people to come out from 10 to 2 with their friends and family and co-workers and have a bit of a pre-game event at Shamrock Lanes. And our goal, I'm just going to, So our goal this year is $10,000, and that money all stays directly in Airdrie to help support our mentorship programs. So how can you continue to help keep something big going on in Airdrie? Well, everyone here can come and cheer Mayor Peter Brown on, who is going to help us launch this event on Super Sunday. Thank you very much, Your Worship. You can come out and meet Karen Orser. She's our new president and CEO of Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Calgary and area, and she's going to be there to help launch us this event as well. Show your support by entering a team Entering a team is pretty easy. You just get 4 to 6 of your friends or family or colleagues together and you start raising pledges. We ask that everyone participating, so every team member, raise in pledges $100, so that's a minimum of $400 per team. You can also help get the word out to your network of friends and family and coworkers. We have event sponsorships available. So for as low as $300, community businesses can get their logo and name up at the event. One of the most popular event sponsorships are a lane sponsorship, so your name goes right above one of the lanes. We have 12 of those available. And you can also get some profile for your business products by donating prizes. And one of the prizes that we really like to give away is the prize for the person who raises the most money.
And the craziest outfit.
Oh yes, and the craziest Super Bowl Sunday outfit. So if you would like more information, you can visit bfk.bbbsairdrie.com. Our website is now live, registration is open, and all the information that I just gave you is on there. You can call the number here that you'll reach me. This is my email. I also have, Your Worship, I also have event information for all of the councillors. May I give that to them, and how do I do that?
You just, Sharon will collect that from you right now.
Okay.
And you have a big audience tonight. You might as well turn and ask and give out your business cards, because you never know what might happen. And they all look like bowlers. That's what Alderman Haig said, so.
It's fun. Thank you, Your Worship.
And not that I know what a
Thank you
bowler
very
looks
much.
like, but there you go. Thank you very much. Sorry, you guys done?
Yes.
Oh, you're done. Okay, stay there. Any comments or questions from council? Yes.
Well, certainly.
Councillor Hunter.
I can speak from personal experience that Boys and Girls Clubs had a huge impact in my life, and a friend of mine that I can tell you that had it not have been for intervention of Boys Club and Girls Club, he is actually, I believe, the first person that summited Mount Everest without oxygen. Almost killed him. He did it twice, but there was a guy that when we were in school, they figured that he was a write-off. He's going to end up nowhere, and through Boys and Girls Club made a massive impact on his life, and he builds houses in the Rocky Mountains now. So, you know, it can start out with a little bit of mentoring, and it can not just change the children that are being affected, but the individuals, but it can change the world around them too. So it's a huge endeavor. So any of you guys out there, if you've got time to walk your dog, take the day off and support the bowling program and help the kids.
Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Hunter, does that mean you're entering a team?
We're working on it, sir.
Okay. You can make the, we're on television. You can make the commitment right now.
My bowling is.
Well, that's
can you wear
okay.
cowboy boots?
I think I'm in for going on a team. So.
Great.
Okay.
Let me know how that works. Sorry, go ahead, Jody.
No, thank you. Through Your Worship, thank you for that. You know, it's interesting. One of our strongest programs here is our teen mentoring program in Airdrie, and we're actually seeing long-term outcomes. Our teen mentoring program has been running for about, we're going on about 8 years since it first came to be. We're now seeing the long-term impact. Those teens who are mentoring are now coming back as big brothers, big sisters, and other volunteers. So I appreciate that. And sometimes it takes one person to see that special spark in a young person, and that's young children and youth, teens. So thank you for that.
So Jody and Carolee, thanks for all your efforts. I appreciate the relationship you have with the city. We love supporting your organization. What I like is the numbers. They're going up, and you're making an impact, and it means a ton. So, and I'll tell the young guy, I still have trouble talking about girls, so I totally get where he's coming from. So I always have to deal with my wife on that one. But anyway, thank you guys very much for all the work you're doing. Keep it up. It's you're making a difference. Thank you. All right, we're moving right along steadily. Sorry, I apologize. Councillor Coulson.
We need to accept for information, Your Worship.
Yes, all those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to 6.2. We have Councillor Haig, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. If I could ask Kathy and Pauline to come forward and speak to us about the allocation of special FCSS funding. And I guess Clay.
Your Worship, members of Council, good evening. We're here tonight to present a plan to allocate the 2015 special FCSS funding increase that we received last year. So that's what we're here tonight. So just a quick recap. So last year, Council approved the allocation of $1,062,669,000 to preventive social programs, FCSS programs in the community. What we received last year as well was an increase from the province through their interim budget. Right around October, they gave an additional $391,000, but we just didn't have, administration just didn't feel that there was enough time to allocate it that year. And so our recommendation to Council last year, which Council approved, was to defer it for 2016 as part of the 2016 funding. And here we are tonight to really look at how can we allocate that funding to community programs and some other projects. So last year, one of the key things that administration did was that we met with all of our FCSS funded programs in the fall to learn about their state of readiness in regards to this new special funding and to explore and understand their needs from a service provider's perspective. What we heard from the agencies were FCSS funded programs expressed that there was really a need for training in their staff. So that was one of the key things that they've raised with administration. For FCSS funded programs, they felt that this was important for them to provide best practice services to Airdrie residents. So they needed that support in terms of training. The other piece that came from that conversation was FCSS funded programs expressed a need for new programming. So an opportunity to try some of those innovative programs that either they've seen in other communities that's worked in other communities, or they've also pre-planned ahead of time, have always had the plan to do it, but never had the resources to do some of those programming. So that's one of the key items that was brought forward by FCSS funded agencies. Finally, agencies expressed their challenges in aligning their services delivery model with the needs in the community due to lack of information in relation to social needs. So a lot of information that we have in terms of the social needs in our community is based on the community needs assessment. So that's sort of the broad, higher level document that we commission every 3 years to find out what the needs are in our community. It doesn't go into a lot of details, and a lot of the research resources that we have that speaks to Airdrie are really old information. So one of the key things that our FCSS funded agencies really mentioned to us was that they really needed a little bit more of that information that will help them develop some new programs on a go forward. One last piece that through our conversations with our FCSS funded agencies have also voiced to us was that they just don't have at this time, one of the pieces that they said was that they just don't have the capacity as well to take on that $391,000 increase. And so they have, although they have some projects in mind, they don't necessarily have the capacity to do all of that project this year. So based on that conversation, while the timeline is tight, administration wished to reassure Council that since the announcement for the special funding, administration has worked closely again with FCSS funded agencies to gather their priorities for projects that will assist them with this work they do. The community-based research piece that you're seeing on the screen is again based on that conversation that we had with FCSS funded agencies in regards to the fact that there's a gap in social data around some of those social needs that will help our FCSS funded agencies build their programs. So what administration really is proposing is that part of that $391,000 we lead some research studies that will support FCSS funded agencies on a go forward. The other component or section of that funding that we're proposing in this plan is to use it again for innovative pilot projects and capacity building, ability for agencies to develop their capacity in the long term to develop some best practices for their programs. And I'll go through these priorities in more details in the next couple of slides. So regarding community-based social research, with the unprecedented growth in population, changing demographics, including seniors, immigrants, and young adults that are identifiable in our community, again, there is a need to conduct further analysis as to what exactly are the needs of this group. The last time we did any kind of comprehensive study with, say, for example, youth was in 2003. So what we're really looking at in this section, for example, is identifying what kind of information can we gather from since that time around youth development, and how can we use that information to develop some programming that the city could fund in the future. So that's an example of one of the research projects that we're looking at. Typically, in most municipalities, research is done by either led by the municipality, commissioned by the municipality, or other public institutions such as universities. So it's not necessarily something that not-for-profit organizations will take on, because for them, their mandate usually is service delivery, not research. The other piece that we also heard from our funded agencies is the need to really help them develop their capacity in terms of training around new survey tools. So right now, what agencies are using right now are Excel spreadsheets to really report to the city around their outcomes. So what we're really proposing in this project as well is that look at how can we support our FCSS-funded agencies, collect data, report it to us, which we also have a responsibility to report to the province. So that's one piece that we're looking at through community-based research. As I mentioned earlier, the other piece that came out through this consultation was agency capacity building initiative. So an example of something like this would be sort of building the skills in their staff to in areas of prevention to help them develop their programming. So for an example, Triple P Parenting is a well-known, well-documented, well-researched best practice program that works for parenting skills. It's one of those really innovative programs, but the information and the training comes usually from the states. And so what the agencies are saying is that they need more of that kind of training. Is there an opportunity to bring somebody, a trainer from that sort of best practice world, and train the trainer kind of thing in Airdrie? It really creates a lot of longevity and sustainability in terms of programming, because then when the knowledge is spread throughout the agencies, they're able to really keep connecting other staff in terms of that training. So that's an example of something that we can bring forward in terms of capacity building initiatives. Another one would be school readiness training. There's one that's really out there and developed for helping those service providers work with youth, and so that's a training that can be brought into the community for agencies to be able to participate in it. Agency innovative pilot programs and projects. So this is an opportunity for FCSS-funded agencies and prospective not-for-profit groups who are able to provide preventive social program in the community. This is where they can apply for funding in terms of, again, doing a pilot project. So it has to be less than 9 months, I guess, by the time we roll out this funding process. So short-term with lots of gain. And that's what we're really looking for, are how can we work with community partners to really provide those innovative programs that we can, at the end of the year or even mid through the year, we can measure and see, is it a promising practice? And is it something that we can build on to continue funding in the future years? The other advantage of doing this pilot project as well is that it gives at least the current FCSS-funded agencies some time to really digest, learn about what programming do they need to do, learn about the community, what are the needs in the community, and address those needs through this project before we commit to anything long-term in terms of funding from FCSS. Now, the funding streams have to really align with the province's mandate. There's a new mandate from the province around poverty prevention, strengthening youth well-being, and social and community inclusion. So one of the things that we're really proposing in this plan is that it can't be just any kind of project. It has to fall within the FCSS mandate of prevention. So how is it preventive in nature, and how does it address the governance mandate around these three key areas? And then that aligns us in terms of our reporting to the province as per our obligation to the province. So in terms of criteria, so anybody out there who's a prospective FCS or not-for-profit group who wants to apply for FCSS funding in this capacity, this is what we would be looking at in terms of our process. Is it preventive in nature? What is the theory change? How do we know that it's best practice? What's the information that's behind the project? And what are the risk and protective factors that these projects are going to address through that short-term period? In terms of process, what it's going to look like is that, and I think we're now looking at January, if this is approved by council, we're looking at opening up the application process January 20th, so Wednesday, right? And then it closes in a month. And I know it's a really short time and an aggressive time period to do, but I think we have very limited time to really, it seems like it's a year, but it really is less than that. And so we're really coping with the time to really get this through. It'll go back to, we'll review it as administration, it'll go back to CSAB for recommendation, and then back to council for funding approval. Hopefully by March, we'll be able to allocate all of the funding to FCSS, or to programs who qualify for that FCSS funding, I should say. So options, we have two options that we're presenting to council tonight. The first option is for council to adopt or endorse the recommendation from Community Services Advisory Board, and that is to allocate the $391,000 on the following. So community-based social research, data collection, and analytics is for the $145,000 that we mentioned earlier in the presentation. And then agency capacity building and agency innovative programming for $246,000. As a result of this option, again, one big piece for sure in terms of the community-based social research is that there'll be an opportunity for the city to coordinate much needed support in terms of providing that research information for agencies that really are looking for that to build their programs. And then it also allows those agencies to use some money to do some innovative programs and test that while we're waiting for next year. The second option is that the council could use all that funding for external groups, so we could do that. That's another possibility. The challenge with this option is that if there's no uptake for all of that $391,000 from community groups, is that we can only defer it for 1 year. So if within 2016 we don't expend all of that funding, the risk is that we may have to return whatever we don't expend in 2016 to the province. So the recommendation of administration is for council to endorse the recommendation of Community Services Advisory Board to allocate the 2015 special FCSS funding increase up to $391,579 as follows: community-based social research, data collection, and analytics for $145,000, and the balance of agency capacity building, agency innovative program for $246,579.
Thanks, Clay.
Thank you.
We will not be returning any money to the province, just so you know. Any comments or questions from Councillor? Councillor Coulson, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So Clay, as far as the agency capacity building going, I just want to make this and get this clear. So the agencies are taking that money and testing their own capacity and or building their own capacity. The city is not doing that for them.
Through Your Worship, that's correct.
Okay,
yes.
but the community-based social research, the city is doing that separately from the organizations. So I saw in the report that you consulted them, but I didn't really see much feedback comments. So they're all for the city doing that?
Through the chair, if I may. Yes, so one of the things that we talked about with our FCSS funded agency, we took notes, but we didn't collate the notes that we took last year when we worked with our FCSS funded agencies, was that we mentioned 3 of the options all to the agencies, and for sure one of the things that they recognize we don't have. So for example, one of the things that we ask FCSS funded agencies, because it's required by the province that when we start funding FCSS programs that there's some research or there's some evidence that they actually work. So that's what we test at the end of the year, is that we test how are those programs preventive in nature. So their ask for us was, well, how can we align to what you're asking for if there is no research that's available to us? So for example, one of the key example that we talked about was the community needs assessment. So when we do that every 3 years, it's very high level. So it speaks to what the community has identified as important to them in terms of social issues, but it doesn't dig down into exactly who in sort of which demographic particularly are affected by that. What are those main reasons that they're having those challenges? So that's the piece that our FCSS funded agencies have said, is there an opportunity for us or for the city to look at some of those questions?
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Sorry, Councillor Hunter.
Yeah, just a question for you. So the community-based social research, data collection, and analytics, can you kind of break that out for me? So that would be consultants or data collection experts would go to these organizations or go out into our community, collect that data, bring it back to them so that they could analyze that and use that in there.
Through Your Worship, if I may. So that's one component of it. So one of a smaller component, but a really important component of that project is really looking at, yes, the data collection that we do. So for example, if you attended an FCSS funded program in the community, what you would do is that you would fill out a survey. So you do it at the very beginning of that program, and if it's a 9-week program, for example, at the end you do it again. And then what we do is we compare the notes and see how your survey at the very beginning changed at the end. And that's what we actually look for. That's the measure, is we look for the change. Has it improved? Has it decreased? So what we've been using so far has been an Excel spreadsheet, and so our agencies complete the spreadsheet and then they send it to us. The challenge that we have is that for our agencies, it's so cumbersome to be using a spreadsheet and doing sort of like a tick sheet for that. And it's fine when they're doing 20 surveys. It's when in a year now you're looking at, say for example, 500 survey pairs. Excel just couldn't handle that. So one of the asks that they've given to us when we went through that consultation is that, is there a way for the city to be able to collect that information from them that really is not another administrative burden to them, and that they are able to put that information, it spits out some of that data back so that right away in some sort of real time they'll be able to see the difference that they've made in terms of the clients that have come to their program. So that's one advantage that they really see in terms of that piece. A larger component of that $145,000 is really looking at specific research projects that the city will commission using professionals out there who does this for a living. So one of the key areas that have come up over and over again in our community, for that matter, is domestic violence. So that's one area that we really would like to use some of this innovative funding money to really look at how can the city work with community to coordinate some of those research pieces and understand. Because in every community it's different. So what do we need to learn from our community to understand that? There's in terms of housing, because we also know, just based on big picture research, that to reduce poverty in any community, you have to house people first. That's the housing first model. So it's really looking at the broad range of housing, the affordability. I know we've done some research back in a few years ago, but since our community has grown so much, it'd be really important now, especially in this economic time, to understand what are the struggles that our residents are experiencing in our community, and can we understand that in working with our community partners, how can we develop some of those programs from the city's perspective in terms of prevention through FCSS, all the way to other community agencies that provide some other services such as intervention. So that's the breadth of what we're really looking at in terms of this community-based social research, data collection, and analytics.
So through the chair, so then is it fair to say that what I'm trying to get a sense of is, so who would actually access that 145,000? Would that be the city? Would that be the city and data collection experts, a combination of people? How does that break out?
Through your worship, so how it would break out is that the city would lead it, right? And so for those research projects, for example, we would open it up for RFP so that professionals in the community can actually apply for that dollar amount to do the research, right? And same thing in terms of the data collection piece. We'll be working internally with our IT department to really figure out how the process works for that one, and consulting with our agencies as well to understand what are their needs. But it would be very much led by the city.
Great, thanks.
Thanks, Clay. Questions, comments? Sorry, Councillor Haig.
Thank you, Worship. So if there's no further comments, then I'll just make a comment and make a motion.
Okay, I'll just make it. Sorry,
okay,
then I'm going to make a comment then. So first of all, it's great timing. Obviously, the economy the way it is, we've been lacking funding since 2009. Haven't seen an increase. I'm thrilled that the province has finally stepped up and given us a little bit more. That detail is going to be invaluable as we move forward. So very excited to support that. I'm also excited that you're running it through CSAB so our citizens get a say in how this thing goes. But I would look forward to more in line with these two councillors was just the scope of 145. That's a heck of a lot of consulting dollars. I'd like to see a little more detail as to exactly what they're looking for and a time frame, if that's possible. But other than that, keep up the good work. Thank you, Clay. Councillor Haig, please.
Thank you, Worship. So just the comment that so often governments are accused of throwing money at problems. And, you know, they perceive there's a situation out there. And, of course, we work with our nonprofits to meet those needs of our citizens. And this will give them, I think, give us the direction and focus where we need to put those dollars, and them as well, and provide for that accountability. And so I look forward to seeing what comes out of this. And I think, as Clay mentioned, too, as well, in the absence of a post-secondary institution or university that would do some of this work, we need to broaden it and do some RFPs to get the professionals involved, besides the capacity that we have at our within our own community services department of the city. So I would move that we move option 1, Your Worship.
Thank you. All those in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you, Clay. Thank you, Kathy. All right, we're moving on to item number 7. And for those of you in attendance, we're not going to make you wait till the very end, because and there are some seats around the front too as well if you want to sit down. We're going to move. Actually, Alderman Haig will move the piece of correspondence to 7.1 following the public question period. So at the moment, I will open it up. If there's anyone here who'd like to come up and ask any question of council, yep, please come forward. Just all you need to do is state your name and the community that you come from. And remind you that we're live on the internet, so my mom's watching and a few friends at home and that. But no pressure, no. And just hit the little button there till it turns red. Thank you.
My name's Lindsay Coyle, and I'm the, founder and chair for the new Airdrie block parent. And my question to the city is, we've been working since September. We've got a pilot project on the east side that we've been working on. And I'm looking to get 5 people from every community in Airdrie. I've been working since September. I'm running into challenges, and I'm looking to the council, because if I'm looking for somebody from every community, I should have some people that have the big picture. That's you guys. So we have a meeting on February 3rd, and we would really like to have any one of you guys that would be willing to attend to help us with a bigger picture of Airdrie, along with we're looking to also get RCMP to attend this meeting so that we have a better way of figuring out how to address the communities and how to address the bigger picture so that everybody knows that we're here. I don't know how many people actually know that Block Parent's here. We've been here since September. We don't have a lot of money, for one, and we've been an army of one for 3 months. It takes 6 to 8 weeks to get volunteers based on all the criminal and vulnerable checks that we need to do. That type of challenge has really opened up my eyes to how long the process is going to be to get this citywide. And any help that we can get from people that have a bigger picture would be much appreciated.
So Lindsay, have you connected with the RCMP?
Pardon?
Have you connected with the RCMP?
I am connected with the RCMP plenty. I just need to actually have somebody, I need to talk to the right person.
Well, the right person is right there. He's the funny-looking guy with the tie and the gray shirt.
Okay.
And don't point to Kevin. That's the fire chief. But that's Mark Locking right there, and
Okay.
he's our director in that area. So you can connect with him.
Okay.
Lindsay, you've done a great job. So obviously things have progressed since we met.
Yeah.
I'm certain that one or some of us would love to attend on the 3rd. So all you need to do is send an invitation.
Okay.
And you can send it to mary@airdrie.ca. I mean, we're obviously going to take minutes tonight. I'll have my EA look at it, and we'll send an invitation to all of council.
Okay, perfect.
But if there's something specific you want us to bring other than ourselves, just outline something on an email. And we can provide all that detail. And we have community resource officers already. I'm certain they'll be able to attend.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also have information, just a little thing, for all of you individually, as you all live here, and could probably be Block parents too.
Yeah,
So-
you want to hand them out?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sharon will come over and take them from you.
Okay.
And thanks for your initiative. I know it's you holding up the banner and doing the thing you have to do. So thank you very much for that, Lindsay. I saw another hand. Please come forward.
Good evening. I'm Charlotte Russell. I'm the president of the board of directors for Gladstone Village Condominium Corporation. I have some questions about recycling as it pertains to condominium corporations. So on the 16th of November, council directed the staff to proceed with establishing mandatory recycling for multifamily dwellings. My questions are, condominiums right now pay 24 cents a day. That goes to support the recycling center. That's $87.60 a year. To a condo owner, that's a considerable amount on their yearly condo fees. So with introducing this initiative, it means that condo corporations are now, in addition to paying a private contractor to take away garbage, now we're going to have to pay the contractor an additional amount to take away the recycling. So has any consideration been given to reducing the 24 cents a day that is added onto the utility bill? That's my first question.
Okay.
The other things I have concerns about, the domestic recyclers, the one that kick it to the curb. I got email from them offering the service. They don't take anything like hazardous waste. You know, they take basic items, basic recycling items. Will the city recycling depot remain open, and will we still be able to use it and drop things off for free?
You've got some great questions, Charlotte. And actually, on the dollars and cents, we don't have that answer for you at the moment, because they're still getting that information for us to see how it's all going to roll out.
Okay.
We know that it's similar to what Calgary is doing with theirs, As far as the dollars, I can't give you that answer tonight. I'm assuming, and I don't see Kathleen here, but I'm assuming that that information will be coming forward. Do you have a time frame, Lauren, just out of curiosity? Sorry.
Your Worship?
Yes, go ahead.
I spoke to Susan today, and a matter of fact, at our EAB meeting on February the 3rd, they are bringing information forward on the multifamily recycling initiative.
Oh, sorry, and what's the time frame?
February 3rd.
Oh, okay, so next
they're coming
meeting.
to EAB, which we'll have more information on at that time.
So the meeting on the 3rd of February?
Yes, that's
Yes.
Environmental Advisory Board.
Yeah.
That is a public meeting, and they are held at the Eastside Recycle Center.
Okay.
And they are a 7 o'clock start.
7 p.m. Okay, so I just have a couple other things that I want to bring out because.
So on the second question, as it stands right now, as it relates to styrofoam, certain types of plastic, I don't see that changing anytime soon. We have no plans to pick up people's paint and paint thinners and things like that. We have to have it go somewhere, so that'll continue. I won't speak for my council colleagues. That's obviously a discussion we're going to have in the future, but certainly the services that are available right now to residents, I certainly wouldn't support taking them away. So,
okay.
But again, I can't give you that certainty until it comes back and we have that conversation.
Yeah, and I didn't expect I would get, comprehensive answers tonight. But, there's, condominiums are huge stakeholders in this issue, and we haven't been represented to my knowledge. So there's just a couple other things that I'm curious about. It said in the environmental meeting minutes on the 4th of November that you'd be providing education to multifamily building residents. There was also a statement, it will be to the benefit of condo boards to support the initiative. I'm kind of curious what those statements, what the thought process is on that. And also condo boards may need to add fees and penalties into the association rules. So these are big issues for a condominium corporation.
Absolutely.
So if this
so,
is...
Charlotte, are you planning to attend the meeting on the 3rd? Can you make it?
Yes,
The
I believe
environmental
I
meeting?
can. The 3rd,
Yep.
Wednesday night, yes, I will
It's
plan
in
to
the
be there.
it's in the little building just to the left when you come through the gates.
At the recycling depot.
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
I would encourage you to bring other condo owners and whatever else to ask any questions, because the person that's directly responsible for it, she's not here tonight.
Okay.
And I'm certain that the board, Councillor Chapman's on the board, I believe Deputy Mayor Bellick is as well, and you can get a lot of those questions ironed out right there.
Okay. All righty, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for coming forward. I appreciate that. Anybody else like to come forward? Please do. Welcome, sir.
My name is Kevin Miles. I live on Maple Way in Meadowbrook, and my question's regarding residential snow removal and what triggers a snow removal in a residential area and the method of that snow removal. The reason I'm asking is that on December 30th, with very, very little snow on the ground, I had a plow go through my neighborhood as well as sanding. So I'm wondering if this is part of a cost that the city just budgets over the run of the year, or really what triggered this expense being put through.
So what's your address, Kevin? What
39
street?
Maple Way.
Maple Way, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we probably couldn't pull that off the cuff. I know Lauren's good, but probably not that good. And you'd be the first I've not heard of that. I don't know if any other members of council. I haven't had any snow removal on my street, but certainly, if you're okay with it, we'll write the address down, and we'll contact you this week and give you the explanation.
Yeah, I know on the same day the school board was removing snow right at Meadowbrook School, and I'm wondering if maybe that was part of that operation. It made no sense when we have half an inch of snow on the ground and a plow goes through our neighborhood. So
we rarely get complaints about too much snow removal. So
yes, exactly.
This is actually the first time. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, I've got the address down. I think Lauren's taken it down as well. I just sent a note off to Mike. Do you know the date? What day it was?
It was December 30th.
December 30th. Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Anybody else who'd like to come forward? Please do. Mackenzie. Hello, welcome.
It's been a while. Oh dear. Yeah, I'm Mackenzie Murphy. Is that all I have to say? I live in Airdrie. So first off, I want to thank Deputy Mayor Bellick for his advocacy on the anti-bullying bylaw. It was really nice to see your perspective and everything that you said I completely agree with. So I'm very excited to see sort of where the bylaw takes off, as I've really been strongly advocating on there's so much more left to do. I mean, when it passed in September last year, there was 2 years, I guess now. Ooh. It was oh my goodness, time is flying. But back then, it was such a monumental moment for me, but also for our community. And so, but knowing then there was so much more left to do. The building blocks were sort of in place, and so now is sort of the push time where we have to actually put in the work. So I just have a few questions where, now last year the budget was $20,000, I believe, for the bylaw, if I'm not correct.
Yeah, it was pretty close. I think it was 22,000.
Okay.
Sharon, can you confirm that? 23. Thank you.
Okay. And now I guess that has gone down. So I'm just wondering where that money kind of went last year and what initiatives we can put in place for this year to make the bylaw successful. I strongly believe that the bylaw is used for prevention and education, and then that counseling piece, which is super important to me as I've been on both sides. I've been a victim and I've also been a bully, and it wasn't until I got that therapy and got that help to kind of acknowledge those coping skills that weren't kind of right for me, that it was hurting others and it was hurting myself. So I think that's a really important key that we need to focus on, is helping those victims and helping the bully, and not making this a criminal thing where it's used for punishment, but used as a tool to help our city grow and build that community of acceptance and care.
Excellent comments, and thank you for all you're doing. You've done a great job. If you didn't know, she was speaking at We Day, if you can believe it, in front of 18,000 people on behalf of our community and of our city, and always an advocate of anti-bullying, so thank you very much, Mackenzie. I can't recall, to be honest with you, our budget deliberations were a while ago. I don't recall exactly where that. Do you, Sharon? If you could elaborate, please.
If I may, Your Worship, the funding that has been allocated under the social planning hat, that's the money that was actually distributed through the RFP process to cover a number of initiatives that are undergoing in the city. With respect to the therapeutic counselling in particular, in 2014 we had budgeted $22,000. We did not access any of those funds, so it was reduced to $10,000 in 2015, basically so we did not sterilize those funds. And it wasn't used again in 2015, and so it was reduced to $1,000 for 2016. And that's solely because that money was dedicated solely for therapeutic counselling at that time.
So, Mackenzie, let's see what Gord's comes back with his presentation, and maybe there'll be some more deliberation around this. And obviously the funding's there if we need it, but as Sharon indicated, it wasn't utilized at all. So I think it's a question I'm sure you'll be at the next meeting as we're going to discuss this. So thank you very much for coming in. Thanks again for all you're doing on behalf of the community. Appreciate it very much. Anybody else like to come forward? Yes, sir. Welcome.
My name is Brian LeBlanc. I live in Lockstone. I'm here. Oh, sorry. There you go. My name is Brian LeBlanc. I live in Lockstone. Basically, I'm here today, obviously, to represent my dog because he can't speak. So I'm here just to make a couple things, and I have some information to provide to council at the end of the. So I just have a few questions for you guys. What is a pit bull? Councillor Keg, we've been in contact. I was just wondering, with the definition of a pit bull is not actually a breed of dog. It's a category of dog, which has 30 dogs underneath that category, which includes Yorkshire Terrier, anything under the terrier category. So if you were to do a ban on pit bulls, how would you go about identifying a pit bull based on not just visual characteristics, or how would you identify it? I know you haven't probably thought of this yet. It's still in the entry phase. I get that also. But these are just questions that I think you need to be. Do you have any idea yet on how you proceed with identifying a pit bull? Like, is it going to be just based off visual identification? Is it going to be off how would you identify?
Sorry, I'm a little confused. You're on behalf of which dog?
The pit bull.
You're on behalf of your pit bull, okay.
Of a pit bull, which is technically, that's what I'm just asking. So I'm wondering, how are you going to identify a pit bull?
So those are great questions if in fact we go down that road.
Yeah.
So again, sorry, what was your first name? Is it Bob?
Brian.
Brian.
Yeah.
Brian, sorry.
No problem.
So Brian, we'll either receive this for information, okay, which means it's filed. So there'll be no action taken, or council may deliberate and say, yeah, this is worthy of looking into or not. I don't know the flavor of council until we address the letter, which is coming up right after public question period.
Okay.
But nothing happens at all around this. And to be fair, as the chair, I'll tell you that if it ever went to this, that there would be a public input session, public hearing as it related to this. But I don't want to go down that road because we just need to vet this letter first, and I think you'll see some closure. But please continue.
Well, those were actually, they're all geared towards, and you guys don't really have an answer for it yet. I understand that 100%.
No.
And I get that. I just wanted to speak on behalf, so make sure you guys are thinking these
Brian,
questions.
you got to come closer to the microphone. People at home can't hear you. My mom's probably wondering what you're saying right now.
I just want to make sure you guys are thinking about this before you move forward with decisions, and make sure you look at it from an unbiased standpoint. Like if you look at the research, what happened in Winnipeg with what happened in Ontario, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, we've had some horrific things happen with animals since my time as mayor, and they're varying breeds. It is not just one breed of animal, I can assure you of that. So
Thank you. That's why I'm here. That's all I had for you, my friend.
Okay, excellent. Thank you,
Thanks.
Brian. Yeah, please come forward. I thought you were saying peace from back there.
No, I just.
Yeah.
My name's Rhonda Labus. I live in Airdrie. I understand exactly what he's saying. But what I'm wondering about is it doesn't matter the breed. But when are we going to get some education out there? How do I go about getting some education out there? I'm a behavioral
Sorry, education.
for canines, safety, public safety. I don't know how, and I've gone to various places here in Airdrie and just kind of end up having my head knocked against the wall. I'm very highly educated when it comes to the canines. I've got a degree.
So from our municipal enforcement perspective, I think canines are our number one issue that we deal with, Mark. No, number one.
Right now, you guys, like if there is an issue with a canine, they go down to City of Calgary gets called in, am I right? The bylaw?
Yeah, Mark, come on up, please. Thank you. Sorry, just direct your questions if you don't over here, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, Your Worship, council members. Yes, we do engage Calgary in terms of some of their expertise, as we don't have some of that on staff. But it's usually for more of the very severe bites and dangerous dogs.
So on the education piece, though, we do have lots of information on education, do we not? But I know we don't provide programs. I don't think we do. Can you elaborate that at all, Mark?
Nothing at this point comes
how
to
do we
mind.
Sorry. I'm a little nervous.
Well, that's a good question. So the expectation is, from the city's perspective, that we provide education awareness around just animals in general, or what are you asking us for?
Well, right, let's face it, here in Airdrie, there's a lot of dog issues, whether it's pit bulls, the dog park, barking, defecation. I would like to hold workshops, monthly workshops on the dog park etiquette, bite ratios, possibly get into the schools and do some safety counseling on it, but I don't know how to do it. And
yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking too. Mr. Schultz is going to comment. Sorry, Mark, go ahead first.
Through the chair,
Yep.
if I may, as you are aware, we are entering into some public engagement sessions for our animal control bylaw. That's coming up very shortly here. I wish I had the dates right with me, but that's a perfect opportunity for these types of dialogues, and perhaps something can come from that discussion.
Okay, are you comfortable leaving your phone number? I mean, I wouldn't be leaving it with him, but it's up to you. I'm just kidding, everybody. I don't want any letters and stuff. And yeah, is that okay?
yeah, that's fine.
Because then we have everybody at the table. We have Parks Department, I see Archie sitting over there smiling, because that's one of his, he manages all our off-leash parks, and he deals with a lot of the issues. And you have a sit down with him, and maybe we can come up with something that's unique and different and provide some opportunity for the community to learn. So I really appreciate you coming forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mark, you're going to capture her contact info. Thank you very much. Anybody else who'd like to come forward? Okay, welcome. You've been standing a long time, so. Welcome, and just give your name and where you live.
Hello.
Hi.
That was a little loud. Sorry, everybody. My name is Erin Lang, and I live in Airdrie. I just wanted to ask a few questions in regards to the letter that was submitted to Airdrie for the pit bull banning. I just wanted to ask, what's the process as this issue goes forward, and how will the dog owners be notified?
So nothing different than what I've already said.
Okay.
The process, it could be filed in the next 5 minutes. If there is a further requirement from council to ask staff to go back and get information, see what other communities have done, whatever that research requires, then they would come back. You would be publicly notified of that meeting. But as I said, if that was the case, we would have a public, it would be a public debate. So, but I'm certain in a few minutes you're going to have an answer to that question.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming forward. I really appreciate it. Anybody else? All right, seeing no hands. Councillor Haig, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to ask the indulgence of my fellow council members to see if we could amend the agenda to bring item 3.1 up at this time. 13.1. We don't want to go back, for sure.
So that would,
that would be under correspondence to move the request for council to ban pit bulls to this point in the agenda.
That'd be 7.1 then, correct? Perfect. All those in favor of that? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, Sharon.
Your Worship, members of council, you have moved forward a piece of correspondence where a resident has written in to ask council to consider the banning of pit bulls in Airdrie. I would like to comment, since the agenda went forward, there have been 5 additional pieces of correspondence that we've received. 4 are against a ban of pit bulls, and 1 is in favor of a ban, but at a much broader level than pit bulls only.
Thank you. Councillor Coulson.
Well, it's my motion, Your Worship, so I don't need to speak right now. You can.
Okay. Sorry. Oh, I didn't. The trio of lights on. Who was on first? Who's on first? I will go. Councillor Chapman, please.
Your Worship, as a lot of members on council know, my son was attacked by a pit bull in the off-leash park last year. His arm was crushed. It was broken. It required numerous stitches. I asked him what he thought about this. He says, it's not the dog. He says, no, you cannot ban a dog, and I agree. It is not the breed. It was a poor handler of that dog, had no control. So there is, I would be all for just filing this for information, Your Worship.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, through the chair. I agree with Councilman Chapman. It's an age-old debate, if you want to say that it's either the dog or the owner. And most of the times, the owner always comes up and, yes, I was negligent in some way. So definitely, I'd be looking at filing as well.
Thank you. Councillor Hunter.
Well, similar thing, but I'm allergic to 2 things in life, Jack Daniels and Jack Russell Terriers. So I've had Jack Russell Terriers launch themselves at my hip, and I don't know, maybe it's cowboy boots, I don't know. But so Jack Russell Terrier is not very big, for those of you who know. But boy, when they sink their teeth in, it's hard to get them off. So again, the issue isn't, how do you ban a breed? I would like to ban irresponsible pet ownership. Well, how do you do that? Well, if there's a dangerous dog in Airdrie, regardless of the breed, my thought is that what we need to do, as opposed to talking about banning specific breeds, etc., is to put things in place that say that the responsible pet owners, regardless of what they are, there's people that have pot-bellied pigs in Airdrie, and so those can cause challenges, etc. But to have things in place that say, if you want to own an animal, just like if Alderman Chapman likes to fly, there are certain regulations that he has to adhere to. There are certain training that he has to have. For anybody to go get any kind of an animal out there that has the potential to hurt someone, and they can just go get it without any training, any knowledge of that animal, and those kind of things. I can't support that. So it's not about the breed. It's if it's a dangerous situation, regardless of the dog, what are we going to do as a council? Because nobody wants anybody's kids or grandparents or anybody else getting attacked. So that, in my mind, that's what we need to move forward on. Not breed specific, but how are we going to be responsible pet owners in this city, because we have a response to the children, the seniors, and the people that have been attacked. Thank you.
And it actually speaks to Rhonda's point about education. Councillor Hegg, please.
Thank you, Worship. So then I would be in favor of supporting a filing of correspondence as well to Your Worship, just because we do have, as Director Locking mentioned, an opportunity to look at various animals within our city and homes in the upcoming animal control bylaw. And there is a place that does offer training for dogs, and if you want to adopt one and they think that this dog might have some troubles, there's some things that you have to do that, and that's the SPCA. So if that happens, they'd for sure recognize that, and in terms of providing training for dogs who might have anxiety issues and control issues for both the dog and the owner as well.
And you know what, it's not lost on this council, the horrificness of any dog attack that we've seen in this community, and we've seen some horrific stuff, and our condolences, our heart go out to the animals and the owners, and can't never get lost in that. I'm definitely supportive of filing the correspondence. Again, I think that it's responsibility of the owners of the animals to make sure everybody's going in the right direction. From there, I'll pass it on to Councillor Coulson, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So before I make my motion, I just want to state, I think this is why all the owners are here and asking you what a pit bull is. But chows, Jack Russell Terriers, Huskies, Rottweilers, Great Danes, Mastiffs, mixed breeds, Shepherds, and Labs, all of them have an opportunity to be unpredictable. And I think maybe I might make a second motion around education, but we're making some great headway with our animal control bylaw. We've even passed just recently terms that make us be able to deal with dog bites and with aggressive dogs a little bit better than we could before. So my motion right now is to file correspondence, and then after that I'd like to make another.
And we should make a motion that not just Jack Russell's attack Alderman Councillor Hunter's legs. I've seen people do it as well outside this building. So with that motion, all those in favor of filing correspondence, please. It's unanimous. Thank you very much. And further?
So I don't know if we need a motion per se, but if we could look into a better education piece moving forward with our animal control bylaw, because we do have an awful lot of dog parks and they all have different settings. We know that some of them are completely fenced, some of them are not. We've talked about having a second gate entry so that it makes it a little bit safer for dog owners and people coming in and out of the parks. So I think that needs to be broadened and looked into a little bit more. I don't know, Sharon, do we require a motion for that? Or
so, sorry, Councillor Coulson. Councillor Burley wants to comment, I think, on your comments first.
Oh, we already have the Doggy Doo Day, so why don't we just add this educational component to that?
Unless you're looking for more.
Well, I don't know that. I'm asking right now, do we need a motion, or is it, I want to make sure it's not lost on our bylaw department that it's becoming increasingly difficult to deal with people at the dog park, whether their dogs are not under their control, and that animal bylaw is taking a little bit longer to come back than what we had anticipated. So regardless, we've talked about, you know, not being in control of your dog is not being in control of your dog. So how do we educate? How do we move forward from here? Would you like a motion? Do you need funds dedicated to keeping the public safe?
So come over here with your question. I know you're talking to Lynn because she's there. That's okay. I called you Councillor Coulson earlier, so that's okay. Yes. So first of all, you can make a motion, absolutely, but I think we need a little bit more clarity. So all I would ask is, I know they're listening to what you're saying. Let's wait till they come back with that information, and then if you want to get even more detailed, and I think that even stems to what Rhonda said earlier about the education piece, I know what you're trying to do, but I'm not sure that specifically we can make a motion as it relates to that. If you're comfortable with that,
Oh, yeah,
Councillor Coulson,
wasn't
then
even
we'll
sure what it
just
would look
we'll
like.
let Mark and Lynn and the team come back with the information, and because I agree with you. I've been to the dog parks. There's dog walkers who have 14 dogs on a leash or 14 dogs off a leash. I don't know how well that works when you got pooper scooper in your hand and you're running all over the park, but there's lots of issues that we need to address. You want to make a comment, Mr. Schultz?
I guess through your worship, I think staff has heard loud and clear, and as we bring that report back, we'll certainly offer comment and suggestions
Excellent.
for education.
Thank you.
You're okay with that, Councillor Coulson?
Oh, absolutely.
Perfect. All right. Thank you very much, and thank you, everybody. That was an excellent public question period, to be honest with you. But we need to, we've already voted on that. Oh, sorry. Everybody that's here, you're looking for an explanation as to what happened? That's here for the dogs. So that it's filed, it's done. We're not talking about it anymore. Okay? So it's closed. The issue is closed. Okay? Thank you very much. Good night. Hey, you can't leave. You have to stay. You can't leave. We're going to take a 5-minute recess. Thank you, everybody.
Let's see what they're doing.
Oh, they're doing a 5-minute recess. Okay. I just wanted to say hi to Daryl. You guys good job.
Sharon, please let me know when you're ready. We are ready to go. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you. We're going to reconvene, and we're going to move on to 8.1. And for those of you who haven't been to a public hearing before, the process is as follows. We're going to open the public hearing once staff have had an opportunity to present, and then we're going to hear from those who are here in favor of what's being proposed. I'll ask 3 times, and I will do the same for those who are here to speak against what's being proposed. And we'll deal with any questions before I close the public hearing. So if there are any experts in the room that we can call on, if council has specific questions as it relates to consultants or the actual people proposing this initiative, that they're able to. And then I will close the public hearing, and then obviously we'll go through the readings. So 8.1, I would ask, Mark, I don't have to ask you, you're already here. Mark Spence, whenever you're ready, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, members of council. Tonight I'm going to present to you Bylaw B59-2015, which is the proposal to reinstate or bring back the South Point Residential NSP. You may recall back in September of 2015, this came to you as Bylaw B6-2015, along with the commercial NSP for South Point Residential and the South Airdrie ASP. The commercial NSP and the South Point Airdrie, the South Airdrie ASP were adopted. However, the South Point Residential was not. So Vesta and their planning consultants, Brown & Associates, went back to the drawing board. They heard what council has said, and they brought to us a new modified NSP document, and that's what we're going to present here today. If you'll recall, the subject area is located just to the east of Hillcrest and situated between the railroad tracks. Morningside and 40th Avenue is to the north of the site, and it's also bound by the commercial NSP area just between the highway and the CPR tracks. Back in 2014, when the Airdrie City Plan was brought forward and adopted by council, there was a slight change to the subject area, going from a light industrial designation to residential, That opened the door for the South Airdrie Area Structure Plan to follow suit, and back in September, the applicant brought forward land use to match what they are proposing for today's NSP that is brought to you. And here it is. It looks a lot like the last one. However, you'll notice that there's more public streets that are added to the multifamily site to the north. And I'll get more into detail about the changes later. But overall, the number of units has come down by about 21. And likewise, the percentage of multifamily housing has come down too, while the single family and semi-detached, which is the low density housing, has gone up slightly. There is, when we brought this plan forward originally, along with the commercial NSP plan, the developer was able to transfer all of the MR dedication that would have been dedicated for the commercial site to the residential site where it's needed. Therefore, that resulted in the inclusion of not only the 4-acre school park, but it also allowed for 2 large neighborhood parks and a off-leash dog park that runs along just west of the tracks along some utility easement lines. Also, there's also the extension of pathway systems that are picked up by this plan. One notably is the one coming from Morningside, and it goes southward along the tracks and southward. There's also going to be a regional pathway system along the main spine road going down the north-south axis. And then along 40th Avenue, there's one as well. There's a, excuse me, I'm going to say right now, I'm trying to get over a cold, so bear with me here. There's also a shared storm pond that is on the commercial side that is accessed through from the residential to the commercial via a conduit going under the tracks and empties into the storm pond on the commercial side. So what we wanted to do with this presentation, because we know that you have, this is the second go-around, you have the NSP, so I won't get into too much specifics on the NSP, but what I did want to do was kind of focus on what council's concerns were in the first go-around back in September as we perceived them, and show you how the applicant has dealt with those concerns. So number one, the concern that we identified was there seemed to be too much multifamily on too large of a site. That multifamily site it appeared in the document as just a color on the map, and it just seemed a little too vague for the comfort of council at the time. And it was a very large site. It's, I believe, over 12.5 acres, which would have been one of the largest multifamily sites in the city. So we'll show you how the applicant had dealt with that. Also, there seemed to be an unclear message on how some of the housing would look, especially in the multifamily site. So we're going to show you how they dealt with that too. I think to no one's chagrin, the cluster housing is going to go away. It was just too vague. Both on MPC and council, both made comments on it saying, I'm not sure what that is. It's just kind of appearing on a map and no one is explaining to us what that is. So we're going to show you what it's going to look like now. And of course, circulation concerns. Just really briefly with the housing mix, as I stated earlier, the overall housing has gone down by 21 units. The multifamily has actually dropped by 24 units, and the single-family housing has gone up by 3 units, giving you the net of 21 down. The multifamily housing as it appeared back in September 2015 looked like this. This is actually a little bit beyond what we asked for, at least in the past, of NSPs when it comes to multifamily sites. We do that because by the time you get land use and you go into the DP stage, you start to do the fine tuning at that stage. However, because I think this was kind of justified because of the size of the site, we got the developer at this stage back in September to add a little bit more certainty than what we're usually used to. So in this graphic, we asked them to show that 12.5 acres is a lot for just 1 or 2 housing types. There's going to be a lot of monotony, so show us that you could bring in at least 4 housing types. Show us how the density gradient would go from one side to another. Indicate that you have some kind of central green space with good connectivity from the streets into the parks. And so they did that, and they showed how they would dedicate the frontage of the housing to be facing on the outside and toward the parks and not fencing. However, there was still that comfort level that wasn't established there. There's a lot of stuff that's a lot of unknowns. There wasn't any imagery to indicate what was going to happen here. So this is where we are today with the plan, at least with the multi-housing portion. It's a little bit more fine-tuned. It shows conceptual building footprints. I think it's probably worthwhile noting that while we're going to try and hold them to something that looks like this as much as possible, we have to leave it a little bit open for the finer tuning of the development permit stage when we actually do get into this, and that's vetted through MPC for a final approval. But by getting it into the statutory document, being the NSP, gives us a little bit more teeth in that direction of how to guide them through the the development permit process. So what we have here, what they added was, and you could see some elements that was in the previous graphic, the connectivity through the site, through walkways, through the park, to the street, the central green space. And what they added was internal public streets, which actually lends itself to better circulation for the multifamily sites. It breaks up the multifamily from one very large 12-acre site to more manageable quarters, if you will, showing very distinct different housing types. So, for example, on the very western edge, you have a situation where they're proposing to do fee simple townhouses at 2-story, whereas on the park they're proposing 3-story townhouses that would be condos. So different looks of housing type and different price points and different ownership options. And then they went a step further and they showed the entire plan, not just the multifamily, but the entire plan. Rather than just showing colors and land uses on a map, they went as far in the appendix of the document to show how this kind of vets out as far as the density is concerned by showing conceptual building footprints, the imagery to kind of further indicate there's multi-looks of how the housing would appear on the plan. So they added that, and they also added perspective drawings back in the appendix to give a little bit further illustration, because I know that there's a lot of questions on how this is going to look. As I said, the cluster housing is going to go away. It was just too vague. It, admittedly, both by staff and I'm sure the developer would admit this too, we weren't quite sure of how this would kind of fit. We knew that we wanted to do something innovative. We just couldn't decide on what that would be. And at the time, it just seemed more prudent to move forward and be more comfortable to move forward with something that we go with what you know type of thing. So what the developer is proposing is a park fronting townhouse scenario, not unlike what you already see out in Williamstown Phase 6, which is very close to where Alderman Coulson lives. In that situation, it's what we call a Green Street situation. In this scenario, it's a park fronting situation where homes, rather than fronting on a street, front onto a sidewalk, but they also front onto a park. It's becoming something that is, we're noticing it more and more in the neighborhoods that are being proposed to us. I think this is one form of, if you will, of innovative housing, in that it's not your typical house on street, but in this case, house on park. I know that the Green Street in Williamstown gets very well used by the local kids there, and it's something I think that we as planning want to see. We acknowledge that there's potential problems with how you park and where visitor parking would occur. In this kind of scenario, the developer has taken cues from some of the problems that we're facing with the Williamstown project, in that they don't provide enough actually they don't provide any driveway space. It's just a one-car garage and an open pad for each unit. And in this scenario, they deepened the lots where you could get at least 4 cars parked on either a concrete pad or within a garage. So that helps toward the parking scenario. We're also looking at ways, you could probably see on your screen, there's little brown patches that might be opportunities to get more parking for visitors. And along the edge here, where we might have a loop for utilities, in this easement here, there might be further opportunities to get actual little parking lots on the ends. So that could, once again, that is all going to be vetted out in the DP process, and we're not going to move forward until we're comfortable with something that we could move forward to MPC with. Circulation, you could tell from the September 2015 plan to now that the most change is going on in the northern portion. Like I said before, the developer is adding public streets. They're going to be the 16.5 meter residential streets rather than the typical 15 meter residential streets. They're doing that to add a little bit more extra space in the street. With that 16.5 meter, you also get the separated sidewalks because they want to dedicate their street trees and get a better look for the streetscape. Also with that is there's an elongation of the window street along the dog park. What that does is not only it gives a little bit more parking to people who want to use the off-leash dog park, but it also creates a loop for people and for possible construction. It was actually brought up, rightfully so, in, I believe, the very first MPC meeting back in August. The question came up, if you're if you have apartments way back here, how are you going to get your construction cranes back there? And it was a really good question, and it's something that maybe perhaps wasn't pondered before. And so we think that by establishing these streets, that would help take care of that. I think this is a really good graphic to show because it kind of shows the overall situation between the South Point residential on the left and the already approved South Point commercial on the right. And it kind of shows how it all comes together, especially from a circulation standpoint. We could tell you that as of just around the Christmas holiday break that the city has entered into an agreement with Vesta to secure the right-of-way for 40th Avenue across the tracks. And so city's obligation is to build 40th over the tracks up to approximately this ramp area down here. And then Vesta is under the understanding that they're going to take over and complete this loop and then do the roundabout in Main Street as well. Let's not forget that the NSP for the commercial was already approved, so I think it'd be worth their while to follow through with that commitment because they still are awaiting land use for their commercial. And you know, Vesta is a primary residential builder, they're not a commercial builder, so they would want to probably get that infrastructure built as soon as possible to move forward with selling off the commercial property. About 2 weeks ago, this was vetted through MPC. I think it's safe to say that almost all the commission members made the comment that this plan was a marked improvement over the last plan. There was a couple of questions that arose. One was about the phasing of the apartments and how they were kind of configured and situated. Once again, that will all come up, or the configuration of the apartments will come up in further detail in discussion once we know a little bit more come the NSP, or sorry, the DP stage about the grading and exactly what it is that we want to see and how they're going to look. And so those are questions that we would like to hold off until further as we go along. I think we're comfortable with how the apartment. We know that they want to do apartments. We know through the imagery that they've showed us, and now that is part of the document, what kind of look we're looking for, and we're going to hold them to that to a certain extent. And then the parking situation that I already mentioned about the park fronting townhomes, we're going to get that sorted out. MPC unanimously recommended that council should adopt the revised NSP. So I'm going to leave it there before I get into the decisions and alternatives and the planning recommendation. I'll be happy to take questions.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions? Councillor Chapman, please.
Mark, speaking to the 40th Avenue coming over the tracks, it's great news that they've got that secured in place. So would 40th Avenue be coming over the tracks and connecting to Main Street? What kind of time frame are we looking at that road would actually be usable? Is it before these houses are built? After? During?
Through the chair, I'd like to maybe defer this to someone in the engineering department. I believe,
yeah, I think Mr. Neal's here. Bob's volunteering to come forward.
Okay.
Through the chair, the question was with regard to when is the balance of the road going to be usable for the development. So the sequencing is that we're moving ahead with a construction project right now to extend 40th Avenue to the point that Mark had pointed out on the map. Vesta's responsibility will be to take it from there all the way to Main Street. They need the deep services that reside at the south end of Main Street to service the residential. So and also another component for the residential is the storm pond. So sequentially, what they'll do is they'll pull the deep services from Main Street south through the roundabout and then get it across the tracks for the residential. The storm pond will be excavated because they need that piece of infrastructure as well for the residential. All that material will be used to pre-grade all the roundabout up the ramp to where I leave off our construction project. And then the balance of the work would be conditioned as an off-site improvement for the residential. So they'll be there's incentive for them to deal with that component of the construction.
Thank you very much, Bob. And just one more question through the chair. So there is no issues with CP Rail coming underneath that track with the stormwater connection or anything like that? There's
no, Vesta, that would be their responsibility to apply, but they have applied and they've received permission from CP to core underneath the CP tracks with for their water, their sanitary, and the storm sewer. We had to get permission from CP as well for the grade separation for the bridge and the temporary crossing, which will be moving material back and forth on the track. So it was they did their part, we did ours. So.
Perfect. And just one more question for you, Bob. There's a lot of dirt down there. Have we got all the dirt in place now that we need for that to come over the tracks?
Surprisingly not. There's still about 150,000 cubic meters that has to be moved into that area. So it's quite a bit of dirt. Remember, it's all 10 meters high over top of the tracks. So it's all spread around right now. It's not in the right spot. So. But we've advanced the earthworks contract right now. We're about to select a contractor, so we should see the dirt flying here within the next month or so.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, before spring, the residents over there are getting a little tired of the wind and no, it's a real problem. I've talked to a lot of people over there, and you know that, Bob. Sorry, Councillor Coulson, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So through the chair, I'm glad that we've identified the concerns and issues that are happening in Williamstown, because it's very similar to what we're seeing here. I just wanted to ask about the park fronting and responsibility for snow removal and maintenance of that, because in Williamstown you run into bikes on the pathway and toys, and it's almost as if those condos are treating it like their own little condo green space. So I'm thinking, if residents who are using that pathway are having issues, I'm sure our Parks Department is having issues as well to maneuver through there. Is that on your radar?
Through the chair, we've had discussions. The more that these are becoming a reality in Airdrie, we're looking into who takes care of what. And the sidewalk would be part of the park, and therefore it'd be parks who remove snow.
Okay. And keeping it clear, or using it as your own front yard where you establish yourself with your items. I mean, you couldn't do that in a regular park. You wouldn't leave your bike or your toys. Is there anything in the works to mitigate some of that?
Good parenting?
Well, unfortunately, I think we need some more education around that and responsible home ownership. But, okay, so moving on from there, parking looks a lot better than it does in Williamstown. I hear that constantly, that it's very, very difficult to park where those types of developments go in. The driveways that they have in the back that you showed us with the visitor stalls, how deep are those? Because we've seen other developments in the city where the driveways are not even 10 feet deep, so you can't quite fit a car, let alone a truck, which seems to be what most Airdronians are favoring.
Through the chair, any driveway from the garage door to the side of lane has to be a minimum of 6 meters. So that is just, I think, around 20 feet. And yeah.
Okay, but we've seen developments in condominium areas where they can put in their own length of driveway. So that doesn't happen anymore.
Now, through the chair, I think you're probably referring to
Sagewood.
Pardon me?
Sagewood.
And Williamstown.
And Williamstown.
Williamstown, I think the trails on the other side of the creek has a situation where I think they implemented 4.5 meter drives, and that was erroneous, and I'm not sure how that got.
Okay, so we're guaranteeing that that's not going to be a repeat.
It's also in the bylaw too.
Okay, excellent. Now I'm looking at the pedestrian crossing at 40th, or the pathway there that's coming down by the park. Now that little stub that happens as it hits 40th, are we gonna see pedestrian safe crossing across that overpass? Because I remember the jury was a little bit out on that the last time, whether or not there would be a pathway or a walkway that would get people safely to Main Street from that area.
Through the chair, am I understanding having a pathway come down along the loop road on the commercial side?
Yeah, just something, anything, or whether it's kind of off and there's stairs going down, however we can get a walkable neighborhood down to this commercial on the other side of the tracks. To the transit station.
Oh,
that kind of
to
thing.
the transit.
Yeah, just to make sure that we have safe crossings and connectivity there.
Through the chair, what's not shown on this, and it's probably just because it's kind of crowded, but there is a wheelchair accessible pathway going from 40th Avenue down to the transit station, and it's full of switchbacks. It has to be because you're getting down almost 10 meters. So it wasn't shown here, but there is
So
plans for
yes,
that.
we can get all of these residents down to that commercial
Absolutely.
easily and quickly. Yes. Okay. And then I guess just going back to Alderman Chapman's question about roadway completion, we heard that there's some incentives to complete the roadway, but there's absolutely no time frames as to when this area can access across 40th and finish the roundabout and get those cars moving that way if they need to. So is there absolutely nothing, Bob, at this time? Sorry, through the chair.
Sorry, and because I'm certain that the proponents will be here to speak on the behalf of the development. Why don't we ask them directly?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
I can wait.
Perfect.
Okay, and I think that's it for now. Thank you.
Okay, lots of time for more questions. Councillor Hunter.
Well, through the chair, this went round and round in MPC, and lots of good conversation about it, and I'm happy to see the result of working with staff to come up with a lot of alternative. That cluster piece really caused consternation. I mean, I don't think anybody still to this day understands what cluster housing is. Cluster tends to identify something that's a negative as opposed to a positive. Innovative housing is certainly something that is much more palatable. I'm looking at the challenges in that area of town. I drove it again on the weekend, and kind of trying to get a sense of all of these things, and this is significantly better than what was before us. So I'm happy to see staff was able to work with the developers and come to this piece.
Okay, any other questions for Mark? Yes, Councillor Coulson.
One more. I had heard, I can't remember if it was with Parks, we were having a conversation about paving those laneways and those townhouses, and if that becomes a city responsibility for snow removal when the laneway actually connects to the road. Does that ring any bells for you? So when we have some of those, I guess Williamstown has some where they're paved laneways that connect to the road. So is the city responsible for going in and plowing those should issues arise?
Through the chair, first of all laneways, I believe, are paved in the city. And
sorry, back alleys,
yeah,
not laneways, yeah.
Same thing.
Same thing? Okay.
Yeah. And are you referring to a certain alley, like the where the park fronting is, or?
Do we have? Is Archie still here?
No, Archie's not here.
I think it was a conversation I might have had with Archie about parks. It goes along with that, the park fronting, and then laneways, and how when we have those and freeholds, and how all of that kind of comes together. So.
Through the chair, I think I know where you're getting at, because a lot of people who live in those park fronting homes regard their lane as the street, since they don't have a street in front of them.
Yeah.
Also, to kind of solidify that notion, they have, those lanes are actually 10 meters wide. They have to be 10 meters wide because the deep services are running under those lanes. So they actually have to have a little bit more width to them. And then, so that gives them 10 meters wide, which is actually wider than our residential streets from curb to curb. And I think that's why people feel like, well, we could park in them when they really can't, because they're back alleys, essentially. However, it's kind of one of those mixed breed things where they don't have a street, so this becomes their street. So that's part of the reason why we're trying to make sure that we provide enough parking in the back. As of right now, I don't think lanes are, or they don't get priority for snow clearing, and I'm not sure what the protocol is. Yeah, for I think it has to be a major snow event.
So if those laneways start to deteriorate,
right,
who's responsible in maintaining them?
That is public city lanes.
Even though it's within a condo complex?
They're not condos. They would be fee simple.
They're not condos?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like a freehold then?
Pardon me?
It's like a freehold then?
Yes.
So in Williamstown, those ones that front the park, those are all freehold?
Correct. They're not condoed.
Okay. So I guess that leads into my next question about how we've had conversations around freeholds, and are they, with that much density in an area, freeholds the way to go moving forward to pay for things that may happen down the road? We had this conversation amongst council when we were doing our development.
Fee simple. Yep,
yeah.
Absolutely.
So I don't know, are we waiting then for the land use bylaw to come out to deal with those kinds of things?
Through the chair, I believe that there's in the new land use bylaw that's coming out, there's a separate townhouse land use designation. I'm not sure how it would answer your question, though.
I guess, well, I'm looking at, this is an awful lot of multifamily, which is not technically it's not a condo complex, so they're not maintaining their own snow removal and roadway repairs and that kind of thing. So it's sort of like a multifamily in a condo, but there's nobody holding them accountable to make sure that they have the funds to be able to deal with things long term, and that high density on those laneways that are going to deteriorate them faster than, say, what's underneath, which would be your typical regular, like your duplexes and your other single family homes. So I'm just, is my question lost?
Through the chair, I'm sorry.
It's a very good question, but do we have the answer for it, I guess is the question. Yeah. Tracy's got her hand up. Mark, you want to come forward, Trace, please?
Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair, with freehold townhomes, they are dealt with through a party wall agreement. So it's instead of a condo board. So there's fairly detailed conditions put on it around those kind of things. It's still we still have concerns. We haven't had a lot of freehold for a length of time that would kick into a lot of redevelopment or rehab. So hard to say. Legislatively, very challenging to deal with tenure. We're very limited in what we can do in terms of limiting that.
So,
sorry, can you expand on that, Tracy? So there is ways we can deal with it? Because I have the same concerns as Councillor Coulson. We all do. We drive by these units. They're rentals. The guy doesn't care next door. The property's deteriorating. We already have issues with residential complaints on the rise. As you know, Rhonda's busy all the time. It's only going to get worse. Just if there is a way to deal with it, I'd prefer to see these things without this fee simple. And I'm seeing more and more of the same stuff come into council. It's just challenging to understand what the actual cost is going to be to our community. Not today, but 10 years from now. What's it going to look like? And I've struggled with it as well, Councillor Coulson, and sorry, Tracy, to interrupt you. Please continue.
Thanks to the chair. Yes, we have heard those concerns. We've even heard some of them expressed by builders, not within Airdrie, but some other builders who have done this. It's a legitimate challenge. Where hands are somewhat tied in terms of planning legislation that does not permit you to address user, you can only address use, which means we cannot regulate against renters or other modes of tenure. It's not possible to do.
And I'm not suggesting, I'm just talking about irresponsible owners. Put it that way. Specifically, it has nothing to do with renters. I apologize for using that term. Okay,
Sorry.
Appreciate the answer. Go ahead, Councillor Coulson.
One more time. So through the chair then, I guess what I'm asking for is not regulating who's going to buy these condo complexes, whether they all end up as rentals, is just whether or not a condominium complex is a safer bet for the city long term when you start to see roadways deteriorating and those types of issues arise, because with that tight of density, you're going to see more usage down those laneways. And so at the end of the day, we're filling potholes and we're doing all of those things for those tight areas when they could very well be a condo complex. So can we regulate and say that it needs to be in a condo setting? And when you have those park frontages, maybe there's a shared use agreement as far as making sure that those are clear and people aren't sort of taking advantage of the fact that they're fronting on those parks that we're seeing in other communities.
Through the chair. So a couple of issues there. In this particular instance and in this type of framework, the laneways are public, which means they have to be built to a higher standard than normally would show up in condo. They have to meet the city standards for that. So, and we take the responsibility for maintenance. So they tend not to degrade to the same degree as sometimes as condo, because Mr. Neal takes care of that and ensures that they meet a proper standard when they're being constructed. So it's at a municipal standard. Where it tends to, so from that perspective, it's actually better to go into freehold. Where it is challenging, and we have yet to see how it will actually play out, is more on the building maintenance. And that's what happens if you're hit with another hailstorm. Some owners will move very quickly on the improvements needed, others don't. And that's where, when you're in attached housing on freehold, is the risk. The party wall agreements do address that, but it puts far more onus on the individual owner than a condo association would.
Okay, so having said all of that, are we confident? I mean, we know staff's recommendation to approve, but given that we know these are challenges, is this something that we want to see play out in an even bigger scheme than what we have happening, or a copy neighborhood of what we have happening in Williamstown and some of those struggles? It's great that it's been addressed, and some of those things like parking, and I like that there's parking along the dog park there. That's great. But and I guess I'm looking for a little bit more direction from staff when we know that these are issues, and we're just saying we don't know how it's going to play out. But I think long term we kind of do know, because we have some of those sort of freehold areas up in Winsong that we're starting to see some challenges with. Do we want to bring that along and copy that sort of system?
Through the chair, I guess my challenge would be, we don't have a lot of tools to regulate against that.
Okay.
We don't have an ability to demand it be condo. That's where the legislation doesn't empower us to look at that. So that's where we may need to get further advice on that. We can certainly take that issue back. It's beyond this NSP. It's a bigger issue.
It is a much bigger issue.
it is a challenging issue. We don't always have the tools to address that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hunter, please.
Through the chair, I guess the challenge I have, and Tracy maybe can speak to that. So they've met the test, they've worked with staff, they've put together significantly better project than first came before us. What I'm hearing tonight is that do we have the ability to, through NSP process, development process, have the ability to deal with some things that in my mind should be very clearly community standards issues after they're built out, people are living there, and to hold, development and those things to that standard for things that people may or may not do. And you can go into some parts of Calgary and look at what they did after the hailstorm. Some guys left the old stuff up, some guys did purple, green, and blue, and so far be it from these folks to be able to control those types of things. And so again, the legislative piece is they've met the tests. They're from a legal perspective, they've done all those things. There's some areas in this city that, can we learn from them? Absolutely. I don't know that NSP gives us that ability at this stage to do that, but again, I'm concerned that we're going to try to address community standards issues at an NSP hearing, and that maybe not where we need to be. So,
no, our comments are relative to what the decision making that's happening here as it relates to this development. So, I appreciate your comments, but I think what Councillor Coulson is addressing is an issue that's beyond this development, but it definitely affects the decision this evening. So, are there any other comments for Mark, Tracy, or Bob, who looks like he's fast asleep right now? Sorry, your head's being held up. You're okay.
If I could, Your Worship, I just wanted to say thank you, and it is much better, and I think that our concerns were heard and addressed to the best of their ability, and I guess philosophically some of those other questions arise with every development, but as long as we're striving to get better, that's important.
As it relates to legislation, I don't know, is it governed under MGA, your planning legislation? So they are doing a review. We're going to see that up front and personal in February, so hopefully once the government's seen it, we'll see it as quickly and have an opportunity to comment on it. Any other comments from Mark before we open the public hearing? No lights on. All right. Moving steadily along, everyone. Lots of good discussion. I like it. So, as it relates to bylaw B 59/2015, I will now open the public hearing, ask if there's anyone present who would like to speak in favor of said development. Please come forward, name, and if you want to put your company down or you want to say where you live, that's great. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council.
Sorry, Kent, just hit your button there. There we go.
There we go. Better? Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Your Worship and Council. My name is Kent Sillers. I'm from the Vesta Group of Companies. Beside me is Ross Yamaguchi. He's our Alberta Development Manager. We particularly would like to thank, starting with staff and certainly the Worship and Council, to get another crack at this. This is our second go-around, and we do appreciate the patience you guys have had. One thing I'll say off the top is Vesta is what you call an integrated developer builder, and we pride ourselves in not building row after row of the same product, shall we say. The labels that you throw around like sustainability and whatnot, we actually live that. We do build everything out that we develop. We rarely sell land that we develop, so that gives us complete control, for better or for worse, complete control over all aspects of our product. So South Point is we think, a really cool project. It's got a lot of moving parts on it. We're here tonight to do a better job of explaining those moving parts. I think Mark's presentation was good. We won't be redundant. We'll focus on areas that we can add to give some clarity. I'll start off by clicking to the right page, page 3. Sure, go ahead.
And if we could dim the lights, it would be great, please.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're not going to be able to use that.
Okay.
They got the scroller.
scroll. Okay. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that on your screen. So not a lot of pages here, there's mainly concepts, so big picture stuff. So once again, what we do is, we're not the only developer, builder, integrated machine out there, but it isn't the norm for Alberta. So we've been here for 16 years, we take pride in what we do, and we don't always do things perfectly, and we love to hear comments, good and bad, on some of our previous communities, and we always try and integrate that with our new ones, and we certainly will tonight, and we've got some pointed issues that we can talk about. But I'll just start off by saying, because we do build everything out, we always have multiple products going at the same time, and when we bought these sites, and I do say sites, we didn't buy one and then the other, we clearly knew we had to buy both sites, the commercial and the residential. And I'll point out the residential, it's not like this is 160 acres of developed area. It's 70 acres. It's a relatively small community. Same issues apply to any community, of course, but it's not like we're doing 1,000 homes here. But when we bought these and envisioned the development of South Point, it was always in conjunction of both. And what an awesome opportunity when you actually have the ability to do commercial services beside residential. That's fairly rare, especially in the suburban areas, smaller communities. So this is great. We were excited about it. The city was very accommodating in helping in the last year and a half. We've been working with them very closely about integrating and designing the overpass, 40th Avenue overpass, to allow servicing and access to our commercial piece, and that was a necessary component before we proceeded. So it is plural. There is two sites. We are talking tonight, of course, the residential only, but to us, it's an integrated community. So the 40th Avenue, I'll start there. That's a very exciting thing. Right from day one, we knew that was a possible win-win. These two pieces of land are kind of the final missing links of South Airdrie. We're all aware of the congestion that South Airdrie has. You have limited access for anybody living in South Airdrie to get up onto the freeway. We're all aware of that. So the exciting part of this is by cooperating, mutual cooperation with the city, and some specific planning elements that had to go in to address the challenges of the site, that we were able to have an avenue to alleviate the transportation bottlenecks. And that 40th Avenue overpass, which, by the way, it'll be the only overpass that the city has over the track, so from a safety feature for ambulance, etc., it is nice to have. It's an overpass, and the long-term, medium, I like to call it medium-term, I'm an optimist, medium-term timing and goal is to have a full interchange at 40th. I'm not going to say that's simple, we're not involved directly, but I know the city is working hard on it. There's some new personalities involved at the provincial level that you guys are working through. We're aware of that. So, but some positive momentum there, and certainly us getting going on the residential side, and the city going on the 40th Avenue side is providing good visibility for momentum. If the provincial government had to prioritize as to where they allocate their transportation funds, I mean, what better situation to have clear momentum and necessity and need being illustrated. So those are some of the things that we thought we were bringing to the table, and that's good. As Mark mentioned, the 40th Avenue was problematic in discussing a rationale last time. So we have solidified some things, finalized the land purchase agreement. The city has, we've got signed contracts for the purchase of the land. We also have, there's a land use agreement, gives city access to the land they need on our commercial and residential to allow them to, that's a big project. They're going to need room, and it allows them all the room they need. So that's a go. We're excited about that. So the whole 40th Avenue thing was important. It provides the last two missing links to help alleviate, and it is creating momentum to solve the long-term transportation problems that the city has already. This project has, by the way, almost nothing to do with them. When you actually look at the incremental traffic congestion that a relatively small community like South Point, being only 70 acres, it's really quite nominal. We know we have congestion problems on Yankee with or without this project. And by the way, what people do in practice, they go south on 8th and they get on to number 2 at 566. You know, there's been studies, I don't know, that ballpark what that percentage is, but you just watch the traffic. That's clearly, not everybody goes north. So there was a comment last time about the potential traffic congestion this project might cause. I think it's the opposite. We look at this, and we always have. This project will be one of the necessary components to help solve the traffic congestion. It's creating momentum for the long-term solution. The pathways would be the second thing. That's number 2 on that thing, on that map there. And it is, again, part of the planning rationale. It is a pedestrian-oriented site. There's a transit site and right to the north there. There will be a pathway going underneath the railway tracks, so through that tunnel. And it goes underneath that, connecting to the regional pathway shown on that plan. It loops around and then nicely drops them off at the transit. It's tightly integrated. It's pretty good planning from that point of view. The transit station is a big deal to us. We do actually have to sell these things, and these are buttons that our customers love to hear. So the regional pathways are, and the neighboring commercial site is part of the features of this. It's walking. It's pedestrian oriented. The density issue was brought up. We addressed it at MPC, but it deserves discussion. If you look at the parameters of the site, this site is got some issues, right? It's going to be beside the railway tracks, and it's beside what will be a future industrial area to the south. That's the existing land use. It's close to the freeway, and it's adjacent to what will be an elevated concrete overpass. So, you know, it would, you know, this is a challenging site. We'll leave it at that. Again, we bought both sites because in conjunction, the 2 sites work. And again, as mentioned, there's some win-wins here. So from a density perspective, our design of this site and some of the issues that we're forced to get into is what's this, what's that with these various product groups. But there's a reason this isn't row after row of single-family homes. Because of the constraints of the site, especially starting with that elevated 40th Avenue, as much as it's an absolute win-win, it is a planning challenge. So typically, and this is not unique, there's planning challenges in every community. So what would one do in a planning challenge like that? Well, what you want to do is you want to create a visual blockade, a visual partition, if you will, for some of the lower density. So it is not by chance that we put our higher density in that corner. The 4-story product is absolutely essential. Quite frankly, whether we want 4-story or not, it's absolutely essential to maintain the favorable perception of that product when you're in the rest of the phases, because we do not want our customers staring at an elevated roadway. So again, as much as that roadway is a home run for the city and eventually for us, especially if the overpass gets built, we have to deal with it. So it's an issue, and we think we've dealt with it well. In fact, if you turn to page 6, it will do it for you. There's some perspectives here that I would show you. Okay, one more. There we go. So again, hopefully it's clear on your guys' smaller screens. So we provided these, and again, these are conceptuals. Okay, this is not DP. This is to give you guys an idea of the planning rationale of especially that quadrant, the higher density quadrant. So those 4 stories you can see in the back there. It's not super clear, but it's about as good as you can get on a rendering. Wouldn't have been able to do this 10 years ago, but it's very useful. It gives you a rendering of what that's going to look like, and it does create a visual for the otherwise much lower density homes in there. So it is an important component of our overall density. Then you move into the townhouses that are in the middle, and those are regular townhouses. There's just 2 types of townhouses, and as Mark's mentioned, and you can see the streets, so I'll just keep it on this page. You can see the streets. You've got a major boulevard entrance, which we didn't show last time, so this is going to have what we like to call a grand entrance. We do have to sell these things after all. And by creating the public streets, we create distinctive neighborhoods, communities, and and visually different products. So you go from the 4 stories in the corner there, and then you go into traditional townhouses. And then the row homes on your table, and just the way Airdrie does their density calcs, they're lumped in as medium categories. But I would point out that the density for the row homes are more like 10. And the density on a well-planned R1SL site is, we can get them up to 8 or 9. So the density on a townhouse, just so they're not painted with the same brush, is 18 to 22. So those row homes are not high density. And we never internally call them townhouses. We just don't. They're bigger. We like to think they're highly differentiated. They are a different product group. They are more expensive. They're much larger than my conventional townhouse would be. So as much as it looks like that there's all attached product townhouses, those we don't use that word townhomes. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but these are row homes, much lower density, almost half. So it's a big deal. And there's opportunities because the garage is around the back. They really do offer the opportunity to have good streetscapes, sorry. So that table there kind of shows you, it's a little bit misleading. As much as it shows that there's only 43%, we take an issue to that, but that's just the way we do it here, so which is fine. I'm just making the point out, those row homes are not townhomes. They're approximately half the density, which is indicated on there. So that's the density, again, the design of the site, every single component of it, whether you're talking the apartments, the townhouses, the row homes on the boulevard, the funky row homes fronting onto the Vista Park, and in the traditional houses, they're all a component of the site. The site does have challenges. This is shoehorned into some pretty dramatic planning issues, and we're excited about it. And again, it works. We do have a history of building hundreds and hundreds of these, if that gives you any comfort. And again, we do not sell land almost ever. We do everything ourselves, and we're proud of that. So we agonize over everything. And on the planning side, with respect to the parking in Williamstown, and in Candace, we know you live there. The laneway was 10 meters. It's wider. There is no apron. So we acknowledge that there is a parking issue there. That would be luxurious in a Calgary or Vancouver setting. But what we're doing here, and this is important, we added, you asked how big the aprons are, they're 6 meters. So it's a full apron. The density on those row homes, because of that, they're very, very deep now, is quite low. So there is no parking issues on the row homes on the Vista Park. It works better than if they were on a public road, because those are 6 meter wide units, and if it was a public road, you'd get 1 parking spot. We create 2 in the sense that we have the garage and the parking pad, and then we create another 2 in the extended 6 meter apron, and then we create 18 visitor parkings in a fee simple product that's unheard of. So there will not be a parking issue. So we acknowledge there was issues in phase 6. This is better. So we're evolving. So the density, final comment on that, it fits the parameters of the site. And I think we've done a creative job, a good job of adding elements that the marketplace can live with, and everybody is aware of how the marketplace is evolving. There is a demand for a variety type of sustainable housing. This has 6 housing types, I might point out. On 70 acres, that's near impossible. It's hard to do 6 housing types. And I'm not counting, there's 8 if you count, we're not counting the 2 types of townhouses. We're trying to be somewhat realistic here. Is 6. That's pretty good. So it's hard to do, it's expensive to do, and we're okay with that. That's, again, with the integration of the building development. We don't sell this stuff, we build it, and it works for us. And again, it's part and parcel with the walkable community, with the commercial. It's going to be a very, irregardless of what happens to the marketplace moving forward, this will be a successful neighborhood because of the integration with all the factors we talked about, the 40th Avenue, the commercial, let's not forget that we have twice as much MR. When's the last time you've seen that? I can answer that because I didn't know when we checked. Never. In recent history, there's never been a community, and I apologize if I'm wrong, we've researched it best we could, that has twice the MR. Now you could say we're cheating because we're moving the commercial MR, which we are, but who cares? I mean, who wants to have parks in a commercial site? You won't notice it. When you drive into this site, it will look very, very green. So we're proud of that, and that's part of the livability, sustainability, and it works. I think that's pretty much all the issues that I wanted to say. Mark handled the housing types, so I won't bore you with those. Timing. So there's been a question of when would the timing be. So the way we've it's kind of unfolded with the city. The contracts are all signed to allow them to go as soon as possible. So weather permitting, that's what they'll do. I understand they're at tender. We are going to stay out of their way to allow them. Again, that's a very large project and it takes up a lot of space. So they are going to get in there and build 40th Avenue, and they will leave it down approximately where that number 5 is, and that's going to take them all of 2016. So the first thing we are going to do in our phase 1, we'll build the remainder of that 40th Avenue, and we will connect to Main Street. We have to do it anyway because that's where our pipes go. But it has nothing to do with the commercial site. It has everything to do with the residential site. That is a major plus for that community to have that connector road. So we have to do it before we build a single house. Now the only issue is, do we have to pave? You could say, well, maybe we don't have to pave. Well, that would be ridiculous. The incremental cost of paving, once we do all of the deep services and connection that we need to move a single person in, is nominal. Well, I wouldn't use nominal, but we have to do it, and we're happy to do it because that makes this a very, very attractive community. And then if you just take a look, one more thing, the temporary on-ramp to that on-ramp to number 2. Now that's I'm being a bit of an optimist here, but we do have some positive momentum, and what a home run that would be for the city and for everybody if we can get that. What's required, and the plan is to get it. We're hoping to get it. We are waiting approximately 1 year. Our understanding is engineering has got approval to do to get the planning going on the full interchange. Once that plan is done, there will be some discussions with Ministry of Transport, and at our cost, we're willing to do that ramp. We don't know the visibility on the timing of that full interchange, but if we can get that ramp in, and there's no reason we can't, that would be great. So we're excited about that too. So that's just a final comment on the transportation links and the overall planning rationale. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Questions? Councillor Chapman, please.
Thank you for addressing that temporary on-ramp and the time concerns there. You're saying, sooner than better for the temporary on-ramp, which I would like to see, but in your NSP, you have stated here that phase of the first development phase of South Point, but 40th Avenue will not be extended east to Highway 2 until the city reaches 80,000.
No, that might be the city talking, but
that's on your.
That's right. But just keep in mind that well, I'll just tell you flat out. If we get the approvals to do it, we want to do that. That would be a very good thing for everything.
The access onto the.
It's got nothing. In my mind, it's got nothing to do with 80,000.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I'd like to hear that.
Councillor Coulson, please.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing correctly then is that 40th will be completed, connected to Main Street before people are ready to move in to the residential side.
Okay, so in order for anybody to, say, for example, flush the toilet, we have to at least have the deeps in. Yep. So the way I would see it, to be, not to mislead you, the timing should work out just about perfectly, because we really can't get in there until you guys build that 40th Avenue anyway, which is most of a year. The way I see it is obviously we have to get all the plumbing connections in and the services in, water and everything is a big loop going in there. So that all has to be built. It all has to be tied into Main Street because that's where everything flows. So it is quite possible that without the pavement on, we could start moving customers in, but it would be nominal. Our plan, and it's part of our marketing scheme, we think it's a plus because there is congestion down there, got nothing to do with this project, but there's congestion in South Airdrie, everybody knows it. This will help. It's also a home run for the Sierra Springs shopping mall because it's going to give access from everybody who lives in the south portion.
Okay, so I'm hearing that as soon as you can, that road is going to be paved and opened and ready to roll, which should coincide with as you're building this residential. We're not going to see apartment buildings and houses go up while it is unpaved.
No, you will not see that.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear because Okay.
We'll be flexible on the actual timing, but there will be no significant, we want that pavement in as soon as possible.
Okay, okay, great, thank you.
Kent, just two quick questions. So again, I still have to harken back. So Bob, you've said that we should be open and ready to go at the end of 2016, potentially, correct? So does that mean, Kent, your comments that you will be coinciding our opening, or will you be starting the project after we get to wherever stage 5 is on the plan?
Okay, so that's our understanding as well. You guys finished that road at the end of 2016, so we would start our portion of it as soon as we can in 2017. It would be the first thing we do.
Okay, so then no connectivity to Main Street until 2018 then? Or whatever the
we would
time
have
frame
it done.
is.
That's, you guys are doing the hard part. Ours is fairly lengthy, but it's not technically difficult to do what we have to do other than the transition portion that has to join to your guys' part. But it'll be done in 2017. I mean, whether, the usual thing, but you won't see us sitting there in the summer in 2017 doing nothing. We will, as soon as it's prudent and normal and efficient to proceed, and you guys are out of there, we will start.
And actually, this is I apologize for throwing it at you, but if something occurred this evening and the development wasn't approved, timing still stand? You're still committed to the city and getting the project through if you have to come back to the drawing table? And I'm not presupposing anything. I'm just curious from your perspective.
Yeah. Oh, yes. No, I mean, we have no choice. We own the land. So, that's 140 acres of land, and we've been working on this for 2 years. So presumably if, I like to think we're all working together here so that we'll fix whatever we have to fix. But, I'm hoping there's some buy-in and some rationale. There's a reason why it is the way it looks, but I think we've already talked about that. So yes, yeah, we're committed. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other comments, these gentlemen?
Through the chair, if I could just
clarify. Mark, go ahead.
I'd like to just clarify Alderman Chapman's point about the...
Sorry, Mark, we're councillors now.
Oh, Councillor Chapman.
I know, I forget too. It's okay.
Yes. Councillor Chapman's inquiry about the 80,000 horizon, I believe that the reference is to 40th going over the highway and east of the highway, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, what I'm reading here on page 38 of the South Point NSP, and just how it reads is, during the interim, the 40th Avenue South Point Gate intersection will be constructed with the first development phase of South Point, but 40th Avenue will not be extended east to Highway 2, not over Highway 2, but east to Highway 2, until the city reaches the 80,000 population.
Through the chair, so there's an interim approach to 40th, and then there's the long term. The interim would complete the loop to Main Street, and then beyond that is the 5-year 80,000 horizon where...
Right at 40th Avenue.
Then it connects to 40th Avenue.
Okay, so this temporary on-ramp is not what they're considering the east to Highway 2?
No, correct, that's something different.
Perfect. And through the chair, I just had one more question for Mr. Sillers. So when would you expect to have the first resident living in that neighborhood?
So our plan right now is to have late 2017.
Late 2017, and would be hooked up to Main Street by that point. Perfect. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? They're being done. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
If there's anyone else present who'd like to speak in favor of bylaw B 59, 2015. Okay, so I'll continue on for a second time. Is there anybody present who'd like to speak in favor of bylaw B 59, 2015? And for a third time, if there's someone present who'd like to speak in favor of bylaw B 59, 2015, please come forward. Okay. Last chance. There being none, I'll ask if there's anyone present who would like to speak against bylaw B 59, 2015 to please come forward. For a second time, if there's anyone present who'd like to speak against bylaw B 59, 2015, And for a third and final time, if there's anyone present who'd like to speak against bylaw, B 59-2015. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay. So we're going to keep the public hearing open. If there are any other questions you think that are beyond staff's capacity to answer as it relates to this proposed development, we have the experts in the audience. I see someone from Brown & Associates is out there. Pam would be happy to answer any questions as it relates to the development. I know they're partnered in this process. No? No? Oh, sorry, I thought you put your hand up, Mark. I got lost there for a second. Just on affordability, I will ask one of the proponents, maybe Kent. So is it easier to sell a multifamily unit right now? What's the marketplace telling us? I hear our single families are really tough. What do you guys anticipate? Did that have a lot to do with the design? Sorry, I know the complexity of the site. You definitely detailed all of that.
Right.
What's your feelings on multifamily right now?
Well, just so I can tell you the factual side of it, that the answer is absolutely yes. Townhouses are selling quicker now than single family. The most difficult thing to sell right now would be the conventional double car front loaded attached single family home, and it's simply because of price. So, what seems to work is when you have a multitude of choice, a multitude of product. But you know, you would not want to have, you know, nothing but conventional single family.
Shut my mic off. Back to Councillor Coulson's comments. So, I'm really struggling with fee simple, and I'm just wondering from the marketing perspective. Is it because it's more appealing that people don't have to pay a maintenance fee? It just really concerns me. When we did a tour around the community, we saw a lot of fee simple product. One resident really kept good care of their property, other ones not so much. Yeah. And one of the issues we're running into is, you know, it's capacity issues that are our staff. How are we dealing with this? We're going to have to hire more municipal enforcement officers. We're going to have to have more planning staff to deal with these conflicts that I believe are going to arise. If it's not tomorrow, it's going to be pretty quick. Right. So I'm hoping that, you know, I need to understand the reason why. I think I understand the reason why fee simple is more appealing to market. But if you could just give me your perspective from the business side, please.
So from the business side, as much as I say that townhouses are selling much better, again, the key comment is the affordability and the variety of product. But what row homes give you is the best of both worlds from a marketplace. I'm not actually aware of some of the comments, so it's interesting listening to some of the issues you guys are now dealing with. But it offers customers fee simple, which everybody wants to own their own land. That's just human nature. And they do not like the fees associated with strata council, even though there is some definite advantages of not having to worry about the exteriors, et cetera. But that's just the mentality of the buyer, so we have to accept that. So the row home product was they've done this in England for 400 years, right? I mean, that's where it evolved from. We stole it from them, but it is fairly creative. We were the first ones to do it in Vancouver as well. The fees, having an attached fee simple as much as other parts of the world, it's a no-brainer. It was new there and it's new here. It's absolutely taken off in Vancouver because everybody likes to have the larger, because these are much larger units than a townhome. So you're not shoehorning everything, and they are more expensive as well. But there's a price point that we're hitting here between townhouse and single family. So you're offering a bit more affordability, but we're not trying to pretend they're townhouses. In fact, you market them to be a row home. We never ever mention the word townhouses. We just don't, because it just kind of the wrong perception. They look bigger, and it gives you, and this is important, it gives you the ability as a developer, and again, we do all the building, to create an awesome facade. So when you come in, you don't see garages. The garages are tucked around behind the back. That's hard to do when you have conventional single family that's 2/3 garage. So you get some design features that works quite nicely. In fact, the entire boulevard of South Point, there's not a single garage on it. That's pretty hard to do. So it's because of some of this. We don't consider it overly creative now because we've done probably over 1,000 of them in various places. But here it is fairly creative. But we do have a working model in Williamstown. So it's hot for the market because it's a hybrid. People like to own their own land.
And lastly, as it relates to the extension, would it be amenable? And again, I'm not presupposing what the vote's going to be, but if we decided to front end the cost to finish to connect to Main Street so that our timing is full opening, is that possible? And I have not talked to my council colleagues nor administration on that suggestion, but I'd hate to have this thing open up and expectations at the stop sign that you can't go any further would be a bigger challenge to deal with. And I don't know where your dollars and cents are as it relates to this development, but I think it's something, if we're not considering, we need to think about, because I believe we have our transit route starting there. Well, people are backtracking and they're cutting back around, and sometimes it's, well, watch Twitter and watch my feed and you'll see all the messages we get. I believe the route, Michelle, if I'm not mistaken, will be continuing up 40th Avenue and then back down 8th Street. So it's critical to moving that traffic. And again, I haven't talked to my colleagues. I just want to ask you that question. Is it something that you would consider working with staff if, in fact, we're able to proceed with something?
Yeah, no, and we absolutely understand your concern, and we are absolutely open to it. We're gonna do it. So whatever assurance you guys need, we're willing to talk to the staff and work something out. I don't have the answer right now, but I mean, as we're going to go on the planning side, but as soon as we get approvals, we work on our design, and I'm assuming it's going to be attached to our phase 1 servicing agreement. That would be what we've been talking about. That would be the logical step. We have no mechanism to build it outside of that, so that happens pretty quick. So that's a 2016 thing. We expect to have all our approvals this year, and we can come up with something between the two parties so you guys have reasonable assurance that you're not stuck with a road in midair.
And I know that Lauren loves to spend money in his department, so he's probably over there, got the calculator out right now. I can see he's laughing. Any other questions for these gentlemen or ladies that are present? If not, we will close the public hearing. Okay, there being none, I will close the public hearing as it relates to bylaw B59 2015, and I'll turn it back over to Mark, and you can proceed with your options and then debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. With respect to the proposed bylaw that's in front of you, Council has 3 options. Number 1 is to adopt the bylaw as presented. If Council decides to adopt tonight, that gives the applicant the go-ahead to proceed with land use and subdivision and subsequently development permits for the multifamily. As a matter of fact, after tonight, if things go through, you're going to probably see me here in a couple of months with this, the land use amendments. Alternative 2 is that Council tables. You would choose this if you feel that maybe there's more information that you'd like to see, or you don't have an understanding that maybe needs to appear in the NSP. Choosing this would obviously delay any residential and the public works. And alternative 3 is to defeat, which obviously means that residential development would not go through at this particular location. It also could impact timing with the 40th Avenue project. Planning's recommendation is to adopt B59 2015 as presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Want to go around the horn? Where does everybody sit? Comments, questions? Councillor Chapman, please.
I'll start, Your Worship. At the beginning of the night, I wasn't sure how I was going to go on this one. All I can say is with the assurances that there will be connectivity to Main Street and connectivity to Highway 2 South with that temporary off-ramp, it better be there before there's people living in there. That's all I can say.
Well, I think I'll just address the connectivity to Highway 2. As far as I know, We've had preliminary discussions, Lauren, as it relates to Highway 2. On-ramp possibility, if you could just elaborate for council, please. Not everybody's familiar with where we sit with transportation.
Through the chair, we've had discussions with Alberta Transportation with regard to the right onto the highway at that location. They've acknowledged that an interchange will go with that location. So typically their policy is that where there's an interchange with future ramps onto the highway, they would consider a right onto the highway at the same time. So we have had preliminary discussions with Alberta Transportation.
I've heard the word consider from them for 5 years. It's terrifying, actually, to hear it put that way, because there's nothing. I want to see something in writing, as you guys, well, Lauren and I get to meet with Minot next week, I think. That's something we should be addressing as well in our meeting with her. Councillor Hunter, please, and then Deputy Mayor Bellick.
Through the chair, so first and foremost, this is one of the first times I've seen where staff and a developer need each other to keep this moving forward in this economic climate. The thing that really sticks out for me is this is moving ahead quickly. The commitments are there, the agreements are in place, and this is going to keep a lot of people in this area working and keeping this economy for whatever's that's worth. There's some huge challenges out there with people making sure they still have some jobs, and this is going to go a long ways to a lot of bad news in this area, in this community, and this certainly, if it goes through tonight, it's certainly going to lend itself to keeping activity going in Airdrie, and it's important to everybody in this community to keep that going. So I certainly support this.
Deputy Mayor Bellick, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, I just have to echo Councilman Chapman's comments. The assurances, the guarantees are good. A good word to hear, and like Councilman Chapman said, they better be there. And I'm sure that with staff and this is experience and working together, those guarantees will be forefront.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Coulson, please.
So I, like Councillor Chapman, was not sure how this evening was going to go. But after seeing the big picture and looking at, we talked about how high the density was in that corner last time, and just seeing that connectivity to transit is going to be, I mean, in this economy, it's going to be huge for people single families that only have one car or no car. The usage to see that terminal go up is going to be excellent, and I really think that this community, when all said and done, is going to be walkable, and I hope to see some commercial going in quickly as well. So I support the drawings, and I commend Vesta for hearing what we had to say and coming back to the table. I like the fact that we're not seeing those apartment buildings go through the townhouses, that there's another exit there. You really took what was said and you went with it, and I commend city staff as well for holding them to it. So good job.
Mr. MPC? Well, I know how you voted, but you can certainly comment.
Yeah, it's basically the public component of MPC. They were 100% in favor of this. They asked the tough questions about the parking and the cluster housing previously, but when all the questions were answered, they were happy, and they were happy with their decision to support.
Okay, thank you. So, a few things. So, as a community, we need to be more clear. Tracy and I attended a density session, or good density done from Brent. I forget how to pronounce his last name. Tracy. What's that? Yeah, Tadarian. Yes, that's right. I was thinking of Lord of the Rings, but Tadarian. But anyway, he said that it's really up to the community to tell people what we're doing. So there's a sense in our community, and when you look at 54% increase last year in multifamily, we've gone from 80% single-family dwellings down below 70 in less than 5 years, I think. I don't have my stats specific to. We point out in the Airdrie 1 plan that, yes, we are moving to a more multifamily-oriented community, but we have not done, and no disrespect to our communications department or anybody in our administration, but we've not done a good job of explaining what the future of this community looks like, because I am getting a lot of feedback on the amount of multifamily, and I don't disagree with, you made excellent points, Councillor Hunter, around the economy and creating jobs and all of those things, but at the end of the day, it's their community, and we're here to represent them. So I do have concerns over a 54%, or sorry, Mark, what's the specific increase, or sorry, what's the split multifamily, and it's 50-something.
Through the chair, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 57-43 in favor of multifamily.
57, okay. So anyway, that's an observation, and I think it looks as though this is going to be approved, absolutely, from what I can hear from my colleagues. But as we move forward, we need to be telling our community exactly what it is this council and what this administration is supporting and the reasons why. I've heard lots of comments around density, lower carbon footprint, and the studies are this, and I have not seen any actual dollars and cents that says building more multifamily doesn't increase pressures on your roads, your lights, your fire department, your police department, Genesis Place, and all the things we have to replace and repair with more people coming in. I'm hoping that, I've had many conversations with Paul on this, I'm hoping that we get a more in-depth study on the actual benefits and some of the downfalls. I think density works very well in very condensed, high population environments. But we're a growing community with land. We're not landlocked like other, Vancouver and other places. So I'm really having challenges supporting this just based on the feedback. The affordability piece, I struggle with a lot because $220,000 mortgage is about between probably $800 and $900 depending on what bank you go to. But a lot of these places are being sold to people who are renting them out. Well, the rent's a heck of a lot more than it costs to purchase a home. And that's just the facts that are out there. A lot of the condo projects that we've approved are apartments. They have been sold. They're owned outside the community or in the community. I know lots of people that have rental properties. And again, you're not giving the affordability, which is the cheap mortgage, to those people who need it. It's the rents go on a two-bedroom here between $1,400 and $1,600 depending on who you talk to, which is not what we're supposed to do. The transportation piece is a huge problem for me. We've had so many setbacks. Lauren and I leave meetings in Edmonton, and Paul, and we're pumping in fists, and we think we got something finally and some support, and we're still not on the capital project plan for 3 years. So Airdrie sits waiting still now. We had a long conversation, council should be aware of, with the Deputy Minister of Transportation, and they've publicly stated that they are going to be going forward with the Balzac interchange prior to Airdrie's 40th Avenue partial interchange. That's what they've publicly stated to us, and with no guarantees on any of the short-term fixes for Airdrie, one being an expansion of the off-ramp at Yankee Valley, which again is great because you're not queuing on the highway. However, it doesn't necessarily expedite cars through the system any quicker. You're just putting them in a safer place, which is a good thing. But again, they're not allocating dollars or a time frame in this letter. So hopefully after we meet with the deputy, I don't know what her title is, we're meeting with her this month, where we can get specifics. And the other piece from our perspective, and I guess I'll ask our developer friends, when you're out there, we need your support. We need letters to the Premier. Airdrie needs to get some support, and we have not got any. The odd letter once in a while or the odd request for support, but we really need to demand it. We've been waiting for long enough. It's been frustrating as heck dealing with different ministers and different deputy ministers and different governments. But at the end of the day, our community is not being served by the province as it relates to transportation and healthcare. So I'm hoping, and sorry to bring healthcare into it, but that's another issue altogether. But the transportation piece scares me. When they do Balzac Road interchange, they've given us no guarantees that they will do anything on 8th Street. So if you can imagine, we're adding more volume to a stop sign, turning left on a 4-lane road, or however they're going to configure that. They have, unless I'm wrong, Lauren, I'm just trying to bring everybody up to speed with where we sit as it relates to transportation. Now, we're working very diligently and have had Lots of conversation. I had an hour-long conversation with the Deputy Minister after dinner one night last week to try and get some sort of certainty for any of these projects as we move forward. But those are my concerns. I really appreciate the fact that Vesta and Brown and our staff really put together a much better plan. I mean, it's certainly more amicable to me. It's still higher than I would like to see. I still think we need to have a good mix of people in our community. I don't know that this gets there, but I do realize the challenges you face on that slope where it's located to the railroad tracks, all of those different things that are potentially there. So I'm still uncertain as to how I'm going to move. I'll listen to, unless Councillor Hegg doesn't have a comment, and then we'll call the vote if nobody else has any other comments to make. But that's where I sit. Thank you very much. Sorry, Councillor Hegg, and then Councillor Hunter.
So then just a quick comment in terms of the specifics of this development. Regardless of whether it's home ownership by people living in the units or home ownership by for rental purposes, this is a smart-looking development. It offers choice. It has connectivity, as my colleagues have mentioned. In terms of transportation, in the big picture, I believe that the developer is working to address those concerns, and we can only see what will happen in the future, depending on some check marks that have to go in certain boxes that we can't do at this time. So I will be supporting this development.
Thank you. Councillor Hunter, please.
Well, through the chair, so I listened to the same comments in the community. Boy, you guys are sure building a lot of multifamily, but those are typically, I'm getting a lot of those from people that are in single family that have various reasons of not liking it, supporting it, et cetera. At the end of the day, so in our organization, if all we sell is grapes and nobody's buying grapes, we're in trouble. So the marketplace dictates what's going to be for sale out there, and the affordability piece is a multifaceted, complex issue. Being affordable to live could be whether you purchase or whether you rent, and so all those things are factored in. And as much as I like to see a lot more single family, reality is the marketplace is going to dictate what works, and you guys have obviously done your homework and know what your market is, and I trust that you're going to continue to do that regardless of what projects you bring forward. You're going to look at what the market will bear and get those things. I just, again, can't say enough about the collaboration between our staff and you guys stepping to the plate and really being, from a corporate standpoint, helping us to resolve some of the issues. As you alluded to, you didn't create, you're only adding a small piece to the congestion, but you're putting a big piece out there to help us get to the point of trying to relieve that. So, commendations on that, and certainly it's what the market will bear, and hopefully we'll have this thing moving forward.
Excellent. All right, we're going to, let's go to Deputy Mayor Bellick, please.
Thank you, through the chair. Just a couple of things. I'm glad to see that we're going to start to look into the multifamily issues. Myself, I am against multifamily as well, and I'm still not.
Sorry, just to clarify, I'm not against multifamily. So
okay.
You might want to expand on that for everybody here.
Okay, as in the high density areas. I've taken a look around Airdrie. I've taken a look at other places, more mature places, and with the multifamily, high density multifamily, over time, they seem to depreciate in value, and it shows. So that's one thing I'm cautious of going forward with high volume multifamily places. The second issue is just the Alberta transportation. As Mayor Brown has said, that's the contentious issue. I'm just not 100% sure that that's going to happen, and I see the temporary access coming on to number 2 coming into fruition before anything like that happens, before you get the overpass. With that said, and Ken, are you ready for this? I'd like to make the motion that go for first reading of bylaw number B59, 2015.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, just one opposed, myself. Councillor Coulson.
Second reading, Your Worship.
Thank you. All those in favor? Just one opposed. Myself. And Councillor Chapman.
Your Worship, if I could get permission for third reading bylaw B 59, 2015.
Okay, and I will be voting in support. Just so you know that if one person votes against a bylaw presentation, we force staff and the applicant to come back to council. I'm not going to do that, so I will be supporting permission for third. All those in favor? It's unanimous. And Councillor Burley, please.
Third reading, Your Worship.
Thank you. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, staff. Thank you to the proponents. Congratulations. And we are now moving on very briskly to item number 9.2, and I'll ask for introductions from Councillor Haig, please.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Tim to come forward and talk to us about B58 2015, please.
Whenever you're, sorry, Tim, we're debating amongst ourselves. I know the TV lights are on and people are wondering what we're talking about, but there was just some confusion. Yeah, you look good. The only problem is they can see the back of your head. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. I'm here to ask for third reading of the updated off-site levy bylaw and the amendment of the effective date of that bylaw. In 2015, an off-site levy update was completed. The levy bylaw was presented at that time, or it was presented on December 21st, 2015 to council, where it was being asked for 3 readings and subsequent adoption. The bylaw would have taken effect in that case on January 1st, 2016. The bylaw did receive first and second reading at that time, and staff was subsequently directed to bring the bylaw back to the next scheduled council meeting for third reading. As well, since the bylaw cannot be retroactive, it would take effect January 18th, 2016 upon receiving third reading. So I'll leave that with you to open up the public hearing process right now before I read the alternatives. I just go through? Okay, sorry. I will go through them. The alternatives and implications, there's 3 of them. Council can choose to amend the effective date and give third reading to bylaw number B58 2015. With this alternative, the proposed levies would be adopted and effective January 18th, 2016. Second alternative is that council can choose to table bylaw number B58 2015. Choosing this option would suggest that council does not have sufficient information as presented. Staff would request specific direction as to information required to move forward with a decision. And the third alternative would be that council choose to defeat bylaw number B58 2015. Choosing this option would suggest that council does not support the bylaws presented. This option would leave the issue of funding new infrastructure unresolved with potentially significant impacts on the tax base. So with that, recommendations, they're twofold. Number 1, that council amends the effective date of the bylaw to January 18th, 2016, and that council gives third reading to bylaw number B58 2015, that being a bylaw to establish new off-site levies.
Thank you, Tim. So I see Jordan back there. Conversation with Beatty. I know you guys have met with them. Particularly cognizant of the community, the economic environment we're in right now. So are you going to be sharing with council, sorry, and I'm talking to Lauren, I apologize, the outcome of your conversations with Beatty so that we can either amend our decision as it relates to some, I don't know how it would work, but I really am very cognizant of the economy, where we're at, and I do not, this, one of our mandates is to increase our tax base as it relates to the business community, industrial, commercial, what have you. And if we're inhibiting that, in particular, I'm not talking about the levies in general. I've talked to most of the development community. In fact, I'll say quite a few of them, and they're in favor of what we're recommending. But I know as it relates to that one particular developer in our community that's business focused, that we all agree we need to grow in our community. I'm just wondering so when you have that conversation, you guys do the math, and how will that come back to council, Lauren, if you could answer that question. Thank you.
Your Worship and members of council, just to recap our commitment to BD, they raised some concerns, and it was along the lines of philosophy of cost recovery and how we go about collecting that information. And our commitment to BD was to undertake an evaluation of if we had employed a different philosophy for BD or those industrial lands in our northeast quadrant, what would the costs have been? Because certainly we believe there's some compelling case that other infrastructure or infrastructure that benefits their development specifically has been funded by other development in the city. And that's what we're trying to get to the root of is that evaluation. So firstly, the analysis we'd undertaken to complete, we're expecting that work to be done by the end of this month. We want to then certainly evaluate that from our staff perspective and meet with BD and discuss the content. That could certainly take a couple of different, I guess, routes depending on the information. One is it could reaffirm what staff, I guess, has felt in this case, but certainly we want to see the numbers. If it does show that there's a discrepancy, there is a bit of a question mark in my mind. Sometimes we collect feedback. We've heard from residential developers over time as well to say, when you're doing your next levy update, can you consider this? So depending on what the magnitude of that discrepancy may be, it could be simply information we accept for feedback, and the next time we do an offsite levy update, we may shift slightly to a different cost recovery methodology. If it shows a wide difference, if the question was, is that coming back to council regardless of our discussions with BD, the intention at this point was not. That was intended to be, I believe that BD brought that up through correspondence, initially through the mayor's office. And certainly for anybody who we've had in that discussion, we intend to keep up to date with the outcome of that. At this point, there was not an official intention to return back to council with that evaluation. That was intended as a discussion with BD and again, seeing what the results look like. If council would wish something different in that regard, I guess could certainly make that that motion. Again, I'm also mindful for council's information, simply to go in and arbitrarily reduce levies or change a philosophy to benefit one developer, those costs either have to come from the costs that come off the table for an individual development.
Yep, we're totally aware of that.
So,
totally aware of that.
Yeah, okay.
And I appreciate your explanation, Lauren. It's just, it's challenging. As you know, I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, and I'm the most optimistic guy in the world, but it looks very difficult out there, and I'd hate to see us hammerlocking for a few dollars, but I don't know the value. It'd be interesting to hear the outcome of your meetings. I know I've talked directly to them. We're here to welcome business to our community. We've tried different initiatives. Maybe there's more we can do as it relates to other things that the city can provide in a short, maybe as an incentive for buyers to come here. I don't know if economic development's looked at those opportunities or not, but maybe that's a way to look at getting around some of the added cost. I don't know. I was supportive of the levies, and I probably still am, but I really think we need to work very closely with those guys and others in that arena for sure. And thank you for the explanation. Was there another comment before we vote? Okay, then I will ask for intro. Councillor Haig, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, then I would move suggested to amend the effective date of the bylaw to January 18th, 2016.
Okay. All those in favor? All those opposed? One opposed, Alderman Hunter. We move on to Councillor Coulson, please.
Third reading, Your Worship, of bylaw B 58, 2015.
Thank you. All those in favor? All those opposed? One being opposed, Alderman Hunter. Thank you. And if it's possible, I think I would like to make a motion that we look at options, any options available to our community to attract business and employment here. I don't know how I would word that, though. Whether they're tax incentives or whatever, I don't know what it might look like, but options that other communities are using. I know we're a tax-free environment, but I'm just curious if council has any comment on that. Councillor Hunter.
Well, certainly I would, we make variances in all different areas of governance and things like that. So where there's a will, there's a way. Certainly I don't want to be seeing any of our non-res tax base going to other communities because of cost implications, et cetera. While I typically understand that we do a lot of benchmarking as to what they'll do in other communities, the reality in our community is, and again, I'm looking at the continued rapid growth to the south of us, not only in the Rocky View, but Stonegate and some of those areas. The economic climate there doesn't seem to have slowed down. There's some new projects in the ground. Some of these have already, they've already got financing for, et cetera. But again, if we're serious about getting towards that non-res tax base that we keep talking about as a strategic priority, we need to start walking the walk and not just saying it as a nice thing to say. So again, what that mechanism might look like, I think we need to have some discussions with the non-res business side of our community and figure out what those things are going to be, because again, it's not just going to benefit individual developers, it's going to impact, heavens, we got some new hotels opening up pretty quickly. Not really sure how well they're going to do if there's nobody to use those rooms, and so all of those different pieces are a huge economic
so does this mean you're supportive?
Yeah, so I want,
Are you supportive then? Sorry to interrupt you. Were you supportive of the motion to move forward?
So what does the motion read?
Well, Councillor Haig was going to make the motion just for economic development to come. Sorry, I'll let him make the motion.
I think we're talking kind of around it. So yeah, I think that obviously this is an economic development comment, and so if we want to see something happening, I trust that they are already moving in this direction. But if we're looking for some quantification of that, then I think we should make a motion that asks them to look at the comments you just made, Your Worship.
Okay, options for providing incentive for business. Does that work? Did you clarify? Sorry, Mr. Schultz, go ahead.
If I may, Your Worship, and I'm not exactly sure where we are with strategic priorities, but part of Council's strategic priorities 2015 to 17 had to do with economic prosperity, and we could provide you an update to the one that talks about exploring the use of strategies and or incentives to attract targeted businesses and institutions.
That's just what Alderman Haig's motion was, wasn't it? All those in favor of Alderman Haig's motion? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Did you capture that, Sharon? If not, we have it written down right here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for answering the questions. All right, we're moving on to 9.3A and introductions to Councillor Hunter, please.
We are going to, let's see, introduction for Bylaw B 02 2016, 03 2016, Water and Sewer Bylaw Amendments. Shannon is going to speak to that.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of Council. I'm here tonight in regards to the Water and Sewer Bylaw that was approved with the 2016 budget in December. Inadvertently, the incorrect bylaws were attached to the Council report, so I am now requesting that Council give 3 readings to the correct bylaws, which will amend the water and sewer rates for 2016, effective January 18. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
I think you're going to get lucky tonight, Shannon. Nope, you no lights on. So, Councillor Hunter, please.
I'd like to make a motion for first reading of bylaw. We got to do this in 2 parts.
Sorry, it's getting late. I apologize. Yeah.
So, do I got to do 2?
Yes.
So, okay. So, the first motion will be First reading for bylaw B2, 2016.
Yes, that's correct. All those in favor? It's unanimous. And, sorry, Deputy Mayor Bellick.
And second reading of B02, 2016.
All those in favor? It's unanimous. And Councillor Haig, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd request permission for third reading.
Thank you. All those in favor? It's unanimous. And Councillor Chapman, please.
Your Worship, I'd like to move third reading of bylaw B02, 2016.
Excellent. Thank you. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Councillor Hunter.
So, make a motion for first reading of bylaw B3, 2016, water and sewer bylaw amendments.
Excellent. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Sorry, Councillor Burley, I heard that. Next up, we have Deputy Mayor Bellick.
And second reading, Your Worship.
All those in favor? It's unanimous. And Councillor Haig, please.
Permission for third, Your Worship.
Thank you. All those in favor? And Councillor Chapman, please.
Your Worship, I'd like to move third reading of bylaw B03, 2016.
Thank you. All those in favor? And again, it's unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Shannon. And I believe you're staying. 9.3B. Oh, I'm sorry, we just did that. Thank you, Shannon. You don't have to leave. Or actually, you do have to leave. I'm having a tough go right now. Councillor Burley threw me off. So we're on 11.1, and this is, does anybody need a break, first of all?
What's in that water jug, sir?
Does anybody need a break?
Yes.
Yes, sorry, we need a break. 5 minutes recess, thank you.
Back there. You want me to bring you one, Your Worship? Pardon? You want a cookie? No, I don't.
Yeah, that idea that we're trying to increase our non-res tax base, kick him right in the crotch and grab his wallet on the way out the door. Sorry, bud. Sounds good, though. Exactly, sound like.
What's up next? And introductions, Councillor Haig, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd to invite Kathy, who's coming up, or Clay, Kathy and Clay, to talk to us about domestic violence update, please.
Good evening once again. We're back with a second report. So tonight we're reporting back to council. So if council recalls, they've directed staff to report back on sort of the status of domestic violence in our community and whether or not there's sufficient resources to deal once again. We're back with a second report. So tonight we're reporting back to council. So if council recalls, they've directed staff to report back on sort of the status of domestic violence in our community and whether or not there's sufficient resources to deal once again. We're back. Well then.
So let's just hold on. Clay, you're going to go viral. You're going viral.
Once again.
Oh, here. She wouldn't have